Oh, hey, bitch. Oh, excuse you. Baloney wash. I'm annoyed. I'm just here to give my opinion and carry Annie. Oh, it's Chris Avalon Unfiltered, bitch. Hey y'all, welcome and happy Sunday. It's your boy Chris Avalon, and welcome to a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered, a show we basically talk about all things going on in pop culture and hot topics. So that's a show for you. Definitely stick around because we have a lot of tea to spill today, including we got to talk about Scream 7 shattering box office numbers. So the boycotts and all that stuff clearly didn't work because people came out in droves to see the film. So we got to talk about that. Plus, I have some updates on Damien Leone talking about Terrifier 4. So we'll get into that. We got to talk about this Paramount Skydance acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery and the strong arming and all the little stunts and shows that they pulled to make it happen. So we'll get into that whole situation. And we'll also talk about Jonathan Majors bending the knee for a check. We got to talk about the NAACP Image Awards because Michael B. Jordan and Sinners cleaned up. And also, Delroy Lindo addressed the incident that happened over at the BAFTAs. So we'll get into that. Plus, Gina Gershon, who y'all may know from many iconic movies, such as Bound and one of my favorites, Showgirls, is opening up about Showgirls as well as why she didn't work with Prince because she has a new book and stuff coming out. So we'll get into that. Shia LaBeouf did a recent interview and he was a hot mess sitting up here talking about he don't think he needs rehab because he doesn't think he has a drinking problem. So, and they say in AA, the first step is to admit you got a problem, right? So he ain't there yet. So we'll get into that story. Plus, there's a story going around about Michael Jackson's estate is being sued for child trafficking by these siblings who said that they were abused by Michael for over a decade. So we'll get into that story because I remember them bringing up some stuff and now they're back with a whole new lawsuit. Pink is addressing reports that she's separating from her husband, Carey Hart, and she's addressing the rumors that she is going to be replacing Kelly Clarkson once she leaves her daytime talk show. And then we got to talk about, I got an update on Heat of Rivalry season 2, when they're going to start shooting, when the new season's going to start. We have to talk about this Rusical with RuPaul's Drag Race that just happened on Friday. And we have some tea on Colton Underwood finally addressing these details about Cassie. Because remember, he was heterosexual over there on The Bachelor. But then he came out as a whole homosexual. And so now, after having people getting all, you can't address it and stuff over on the Traitors, he's actually speaking out about it. So we'll get into that and a whole lot more. So before we get to those topics, if you could please do me a solid and hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And also be sure to smash the notification bell so that way you know when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. Um, excuse me. We also have memberships, so if you want to become a member, definitely you can do that. It's all the information's in the description and all those goodies. And also you can follow all my social media handles and stuff, which is also in the description. And so yeah, but if you're feeling a little tight this month, because I know February is like the struggle bus month for a lot of people. And yeah, definitely you just hit the like and subscribe. It's free. And if it's free, it's for me. All right. So now, oh yeah, hold on. Let me go because Sailor Mermaid posted. There was another post that was in here too, but I think when I had to go out and refresh my computer, it erased the previous one because somebody was like, "I wonder." I think it was Devon Smith was like, "I wonder what Chris gonna say about Scream." Well, buckle up, Buttercup, or as Samuel L. Jackson said in the first Jurassic Park, "Hold on to your butts," because we gonna talk about Scream. And it might get a little spoilerish, so if you haven't seen it, you might want to mute your TV or whatever the case is until we're done with the segment. But Sailor Mermaid says, "Good evening, good morning." That's Funky Dineva. And happy Sunday, happy March. I was about to say, I was literally about to say, Cleveland right now is at the movies watching Scream, and he already done. So I guess you could jump in the comments. Mike Allen says Scream was amazing. I'm surprised you're not talking about Lisa Renner saying she was drunk. That was going to be a story, but I'll probably say that for another time. There's been a lot of Lisa Rinna stories that have been coming out, and I've been kind of like, where does it fit in? We might have to make that fit in a later episode. Brody Pellegrino says, hello. All right, y'all. So I'm not going to edge y'all any longer. Let me have my banner. And if y'all have seen Scream, whatever, you could jump in the comments if you like. So speaking of Scream, let's get into her. All right now. So there was an initial story I was going to use prior to the whole situation. But Variety just wrote a new updated story on the box office, and we're gonna get into that in a second. But yeah, they talking about this is a record breaker. So I'm like, well, damn, fuck Melissa Barrera's drag because it seemed like people wanted Sydney back, and we got what we want. So before we get to what it is now, let's take a trip back down memory lane when the Scream 7 situation was a hot ass mess. So y'all remember there was supposed to be a trilogy initially that the Carpenter sisters, that would be Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera, had signed on to do a trilogy. They tried to say they didn't, but it's like, sis, we already remember y'all saying that, especially with Radio Silence. But stuff had happened. They weren't able to come aboard because I guess they were probably getting pressure from the studio to make another wait, hold on. I forgot to put that the stage thing in. I mean the comments. All right, so I think that Radio Silence hadn't, jotted down anything yet in regards of forming it into a script. So they needed some time because they were doing Abigail. But I think with Radio Silence and Paramount, they probably wanted to rush out another Scream movie. So Radio Silence they went off and did their own thing somewhere else. Then Melissa Barrera came out and was, speaking out for the genocide that was going on in Palestine, and rightfully so, because like I said before, I was with her on what she was saying. And now when she was fresh off the situation, everybody was crucifying her, and she paid the price, as well as Susan Sarandon, because Susan Sarandon just did an interview where she was talking about, yeah, a lot of people was dropping her. She was losing work and everything because she spoke out against the genocide that's happening in this country that, of course, is run by a bunch of damn Zionists. And a lot of our corporate people are cucking to them, Democrats and Republicans. So she spoke out. She had to pay the price, and it is what it is. And she's speaking out about it. So um, then all that happened. Melissa Barrera ended up getting fired, which I thought was ridiculous. She shouldn't have gotten fired for what had happened. Actors should be allowed to speak out against any injustices in the world, especially if you're a minority, like she is. I believe Melissa is Mexican, so why not speak out on atrocities going on? And you don't have to be an other in order to speak out. You could, if you have it within you. Mark Ruffalo speaks out all the time, and I know he gets shit for it, but I'd rather you say something than just be a little pussy and keep your head down and don't want to speak on whatever. But that's neither here nor there. So then after that, Christopher Landon was coming on board. I was excited with him coming on because I like Christopher Landon's movies. He seems like a big horror movie fan. He's also someone who was deeply inspired by the Scream movies, and you definitely catch it in a lot of the type of movies that he does, that he's done, horror movie wise. So then he wound up going away because y'all were over here picking on him because of the whole Melissa Barrera situation, which he had nothing to do with. That was the studio. But of course, because it's a name and all this other stuff, you're gonna go pick on whoever is you can get, go at rather than go after Spyglass, whatever the case is. Which I said at the end of the day, all of this is performative because a lot of y'all don't really stick to um your guns on a lot of situations. And clearly the box office showed because while at the recent premiere of Scream, which I think that was probably maybe one of the reasons why they were prolonging it, because it could have been from all the controversy. But like I said, there's a difference between the Matrix and the real world. And I can walk and chew gum at the same time. So yeah, I'm against Zionism and all the other things, but I'm also a Scream fan. So I'm not going to stop watching a franchise because, oh, one person that only did 2 movies out of the 7 was fired, when this franchise has always cucked itself to it being a Sydney driven situation because they've had her in every movie except the last one, which was 6. So after everything that happened, the last director left because y'all were bullying him and threatening his kids, bodily harm and all these other things. Like y'all actually were Ghostface going sending threats online. And then they brought in Kevin Williamson, which I thought was a safe bet because Kevin Williamson is tied to the franchise. He created Sydney, he created Gale, he created the rules around what the new slasher situation is. So, with all that being said, the movie is finally here, and you want to know my thoughts. um, For the most part, I will say I enjoyed it. I did have to go to the bathroom 4 times. I guess it was just the coffee I drank. I was like, okay, why am I going to the bathroom 10 minutes later? I gotta go again. It's probably old man bladder. But anyway, and I ain't that damn old, but I be feeling like it sometimes. So I went to see the movie Friday morning in IMAX. Great experience. It was great. I will say this. It was great to see Sydney back on the screen because I love Nev Campbell. I've always loved the character that she brings to this whole situation. And I like the idea of them possibly exploring, okay, Sydney is now a mother of 3 kids. And what is it like to deal with the, because Maureen wasn't there to navigate her through this whole situation, what was going on. She was murdered. And because her death, which of course had to do with Stu and Billy. Now they wanted to go after the daughter because he was still hurt because her mother was going around sleeping with his father and that sort of thing. So she was all alone, and I mean, she had her father. And sidebar, where's her father? Because where's Sydney's father? He wasn't even mentioned in the movie. It would have made sense if during one of the scenes when they did the FaceTime situation, that when they showed the kids, which felt kind of like an afterthought to explain why they all weren't there, but Tatum was. It would have been nice that they would have had the kids with her father, because it's like, since y'all were nostalgia baiting us to death, that would have made more sense to have them there. But that's whatever. I'm splitting hairs. But I am going to read this script down to the floor because the script was not that good. And I think it's time to get rid of who wrote it? Guy Busick? It's time for him to go because he wrote 5, he wrote 6, and he wrote this one. And Kevin had to come in and do some rewrites, which I heard the rewrite was $500,000. So they had to spend $500,000 to do rewrites on it. And clearly it shows that money not well spent because the script was a mess. The opening sequence had nothing to do with the movie as a whole. What we see, obviously, you see in the trailer, they pretty much give away not necessarily how characters die, but you see, like, okay, when she falls on top of that blade, that was one of the sequences you knew was going to happen. But something happens afterwards that kind of adds a little extra icing on the cake. Burn it all down with all that other stuff. Hint, hint. If you have, that's for those who've seen the movie. So, um, that sequence, I'm like, because whenever we see an opening sequence with Scream, right? Isn't it always like the opening kills are always sort of connected to other characters in that universe? There was no connection of these two that were killed. What was the connection to Tatum and her friends? There was no connection. Another thing I had an issue with this movie too, her friends were underwritten. Like they barely had scenes. It was like the scene between Celeste O'Connor and Asa Gurman, they were trying to make them like they were a couple, but I'm like, the only hint we had that she had a crush on him, well, at least from what I know, because maybe I went to the bathroom when they had another scene. But the only time we knew that she had a crush on him was during the bar sequence. There was no lead up to the fact that, okay, there was any kind of thing that they had going on with each other. So that was a little bizarre. I just felt like, the writer did not really focus on developing the characters. Also, um McKenna Grace Hannah character, she was in the movie for like 2 scenes. I'm like, what? She was underused. Kind of like how she was in Five Nights at Freddy's. Y'all underused her in that too. So, but her scene was good though. Her death scene, I lived for that one when she was stuck on the harness and swinging back and forth, and then he holds the knife up like this, and then she's coming towards it and splits her open, and the guts come out. I was like, okay, I'm living for that. That was like the most iconic sequence since. Yeah, there's gonna be some spoilers in case y'all didn't hear me say it earlier. That was the most iconic scene since Casey Becker's murder, which they did show in an uncensored version of the opening kill in the original Scream. Her guts coming out while she's hanging from the tree in the original movie. There is a version of that out there somewhere. I don't know where, but I remember seeing it. Um, and the bar tap scene, that was a cool scene too, with Asa Gurman, where his head went through the bar tap and literally you had a mixture of beer and blood coming out of his mouth. That was a pretty cool scene too. There was some pretty gnarly kills. I will give them that. I just wish they would have focused more on the story. Now, Joe McHale as Mark Evans, which we all know. Look, I wasn't that upset that Patrick Dempsey it wasn't in the movie. It would have probably gave a little more, oomph if he was. But I didn't mind Joe McHale. I know some people can't really see past him being a comedian or whatever the case is, but he was fine. He came off with like your average police officer, even though he is like the sheriff or police chief, whatever you want to call it. So he gave a little, he gave what he gave with the script. I will also say the sequence with him and Ghostface in between in the garage with the tarp, I actually like that. And there was a couple of shots that I love too that played homage to Halloween. Like if you notice, there was two sequences. The opening sequence with I don't remember the girl's name, the blonde hair girl, where you kind of see Ghostface's the lighting of his mask in the dark. That's very Michael Myers in Halloween. And also the sequence with Ghostface when the lighting comes in and Mark is bending. Well, yeah, Mark, that was his name. He bends down to pick up the tools because the tools was knocked over, and that got him to go into the garage. When he goes to pick the tools up, and you actually see Ghostface's silhouette in the background with the tarp, I was like, that was another nod to Halloween. So I liked a lot of the nods and to previous horror films and the callbacks to um I like the callbacks to the original Scream films, like a lot of the wardrobe. The third act sequence with what Sydney was wearing was Scream 3, the very same colors. The jacket that Tatum wears and triggers Sydney was the jacket she wore in Scream 2. So I liked a lot of the callbacks to a lot of the also the music. Shout out to Marco Beltrami because I thought it was great to bring him back. There was a lot of callbacks to the original music from the original movie, especially like the end sequence that was like the same music they used after Stu and um Billy were killed. And so it was a lot of callbacks to a lot of the original movies. Even the sequence where you see Tatum laying on the bed and she's in her phone, very much a callback to Sydney after Casey Becker is killed and Stephen Orff. And it's a callback to Sydney being at the computer and she's doing whatever she's doing in the computer. I think she was like, that was her version of texting, actually. I think she was, what did we call that back in the what do we call that? We were instant messaging. I think that's what she was doing. And it was 96, Shia. So she was instant messaging. So and then Billy was at the window. So it was like a lot of callbacks and stuff to that. I like the dynamic between Sydney and her daughter, that there was like a little bit of this. She was trying to hold back. Another sequence I will say that I definitely love that built up that suspense. I did want more suspense and more chase sequences in this movie, though. I felt like I was a little let down from that. But the panic room scene where they're in the wall and stuff, that was a really cool scene too. And when they got out and there's a little sequence happens and then and Gail is introduced in how she comes back in that scene. Everybody in my theater clapped during that part. So it was like, it was great to see Gail. I was pissed that y'all underused her. You underused her and you underused the Minx Martin twins because there was a sequence. I'm like, that makes sense. After the interview that she does with Sydney, finally gets her interview after 30 years, then we see Stu. Well, I guess let's get into that. And the whole AI situation, which we all knew for those who've been following a lot of the theories online and the pundits and everybody that's been talking about this movie ad nauseum, y'all probably already knew by now that there was going to be an AI angle used in the movie. I like the idea. I felt like the execution wasn't executed well. So I had an issue with the whole AI situation. And it was great seeing Matthew Lillard back on the screen as the AI version of, Stu or whatever the case is. But I miss Roger L. Jackson's voice. I felt like he's the most iconic part of the Scream franchise. So it kind of felt like, in a way, it was the weakest use of Ghostface since Scream 3, because in Scream 3, we barely heard Roger L. Jackson's voice in that version too. So I wanted him to, and this is me talking as a Scream fan. I'm not going to be like everybody else where they come up in here and they want to hate on it because of, oh, it's Melissa Barrera, just free Palestine. And I'm not doing all that performative shit. I'm coming at this film reviewing it as a fan of the franchise. Um, loved what you did with what y'all had and with the script and all the stuff, Melissa and Jenna and the rest of y'all. But judging. I want to judge this on what the film was. So yeah, these are my issues that I have with the script. And during the sequence when she's going to the bar and Sydney doesn't have the keys because she took Gail's car. Gail's like turning around like, Sydney, Sydney. I'm like, girl, run after her. I mean, I know you got nerve damage, which they did address from like Scream 6, where she got the nerve damage because of that big sequence in the loft in New York, which I actually love that they followed that up. And so now Gail's self-medicating. Because we see when she popped that pill and turned her back and Sydney caught it. So when that sequence comes, I'm like, ma'am, so you gonna really run across town to try to get to your daughter? That was just dumb. But I guess that was just a way that they wanted Tatum to have her moment of trying to fight Ghostface with the assistance of her mother. And then there was like one little spot that the signal was bad, so she had to stand there and guide her through everything. That was a cool sequence, poorly executed. So there was a lot of ideas that I thought that they were trying to put in this movie, but some of the stuff just wasn't well executed, in my opinion. And so, yeah, there's that. Okay. So before we get to the box office and everything, because I the plan was I was going to get to the box office, then get to my review, but it seemed like my brain went the way it went, and so this is how it's all coming out. Let's get into this the Ghostface part. So if y'all don't want to hear who the killers are, mute your thing, and I'll do like one of these numbers when we done. Okay. This has by far got to be the worst Ghostface reveal since Scream 6. I fucking hated the Scream 6 reveal. That was so stupid. First of all, I told y'all before, I figured out who the killers were in Scream 6 during the sequence when, remember when they were in the police, what was it, the precinct or whatever the case was, and Kirby was there and they were trying to throw it off. I'm like, it's not Kirby. Y'all playing in my face. I'm not dumb. The writing in here is terrible. So you're not gonna, make me believe that it's Kirby because y'all trying to go in that direction and it's gonna piss the fans off. And I didn't believe it because you weren't convincing with the writing. I figured out who the killers were during the therapist sequence because I was like, first of all, how would any one of them killers know except the Dermot Mulroney's character because he was the only one that was there that would know a lot of the information. So I knew it was him. And I knew it was his son. I just didn't think it was going to be the daughter. She was the one that threw me off because y'all faked her death. But then again, thinking about it, I was like, she got killed off camera. So um that should have been the giveaway. So that one was the worst one. I didn't mind 6 because Richie was obvious too, and Mikey Madison kind of threw me off. But then I was like, you know what? It makes sense. Like if I was really paying attention at the time, maybe I was excited because it was a Scream movie. I didn't really like catch it then, but whatever. This one was horrible. First of all, it reminded me when it's revealed that it's Marco, aka Ethan Embry, the guy that works at the mental institution. I was like, first of all, that's a dead giveaway. He looks serial killer-ish. The receding hairline, the crazy look that he had. I was like, killer. Also, the fact that we didn't have Anna Camp throughout the whole movie, I was like, she's the killer. But I thought what they were going to do was they were going to go with the whole Stu Mocker, Leslie Mocker sister, crazy sister in the mental institution angle. I thought that was the direction they were going to go with this movie. They didn't go there. Also, what I think would have probably served this movie, and then in the middle where they had like that, I forget the other guy's name, the one that the other, because it was 3 killers in this movie. The other killer who was killed off halfway through the movie because Gail ran his ass over with her car, and they let's unmask this fucker and took the mask off. I was like, who is that? And that's kind of like what we felt about all the characters. Anakin was underwritten. She had a couple of scenes where she showed up at the coffee shop. Then she shows up after, they try to kill Ghost. I mean, that Ghostface trying to kill him up in their house. So she shows up with her son. And I'm the neighbor. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? It just wasn't convincing. And this is the way that her performance was. I caught on and was like, and then you were barely in the film. So that was kind of like you picked somebody that we barely saw. And they said there's always somebody that you know that you're connected to. It's funny as like Kevin Williamson set the rules and Guy Busey forgot to add the rules into the movie. I also feel like at this point it may be time for Scream to establish a recurring Ghostface, meaning that Ghostface needs to not die at the end of every movie. We probably had like 15 Ghostface throughout all this entire franchise. I think we need to bring in a recurring Ghostface or yeah, and so it's like you have a couple of them, maybe 2 or 3 if y'all want to do that again. 2 of the killers get killed, one of them gets away and goes off into the next one, leave us on a cliffhanger so we can't wait to come back for the next one. I think that's what they probably need to do. Or I thought would have been a great idea if you're going to do the angle regarding um if you're gonna do damn, I lost my train of thought. If you're gonna do the whole situation regarding the the AI thing, I think it would have been a better idea if they would did the whole cult of Ghostface angle that they were gonna use in Scream 3. Then I forgot what happened. Was it Columbine or something or another that happened around that time? That's why I had to scrap it and go with the whole movie Harvey Weinstein meta shit. I think that's why they had to go with that. So I thought like they should have did the whole cult of Ghostface, had a bunch of them coming after Sydney and her daughter, and one of they could have just been like a cult of stew, mocker fanatics, which kind of plays into the meta conversation regarding a lot of the stew mocker conspiracy theorists on social media that want him to be alive so bad. So one person could have been like, I want Stu to be alive so bad, I'm gonna replicate a lot of what he does, and I'm gonna find a way to keep his spirit alive. I'm gonna use AI, whatever the case is, recruit some people, maybe in a Reddit thread or whatever the case is, get a bunch of them up in there. You can come up with something creative and have that look. And I'm giving you this shit for free. Radio Silence or Spyglass. First of all, I can't say Radio Silence because Radio Silence did an interview and they said that their producer credit was a vanity credit. They had nothing to do with this movie. So I guess we could just toss them out of the situation because they said, yeah, when we didn't do the film, we had nothing to do with it. But as a thank you, they just put them as, they got executive producer credit, whatever. So I think it's like that could have been a cooler angle to do in regards to the whole cult of Ghostface situation. Can I tell you that scene with the way they took out Anna Camp had me cackling her, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to an Anna Camp Nev Campbell fight sequence in the garage. So that fight sequence was lit, and the scene with the bullets, which, if y'all paid attention, was a callback to Mickey's death in Scream 2. Let me catch up all the situation because remember when he came back, there was like you supposed to shoot him in the head. He comes out, and then of course Sydney and Gail shoot his ass, light his ass up with bullets. Oh, they lit this bitch up too, but to the point that her face fell apart. I was like, okay, I was living for that. So, overall, I thought the film had potential in a lot of situations. I think that there needs to be some new structural change. And I'm saying if y'all don't kind of straighten up and figure out how to make this franchise more interesting and question what is the state of horror films today? What is happening? Because remember, that is the foundation that Scream built. Scream was a film that built its foundation on critiquing past slasher films from the 80s and the early 90s and managed to take all that stuff up in there. And then, of course, we got Stab, which was the parody. This movie almost felt like I was watching it. This may have been the first time in my lifetime I've watched a Stab movie rather than a Scream movie. So Scream 7 was given more Stab than Scream. I enjoyed some of the parts. If you're gonna use people from the past, we need more Gail. And I just have her disappear for half the movie and show up at the end. I'm like, where the hell did she go? She was at the news spot, and then we don't see her the rest of the movie. And then the Meeks Martin twins get into it with Ghostface at the bar, and then they're gone for the duration of the movie and show up at the end with a camera to catch up. I'm like, what? There's something missing in there. So it didn't make sense. Like you have people who understand that world, but you didn't utilize them enough. So if we're gonna come back with Scream 8, whatever the idea is, hopefully you come up with a much better idea than y'all did with this because the motive, and I forgot to mention this, the motive behind um why Jessica, because that was her name, and Marco was the guy that worked at the mental institution. The motive behind Jessica's situation, I'm still trying to understand what the fuck she was talking about. I didn't understand none of it. I'm like, what? Because she read Sydney's book and it motivated her to kill her husband. Then she starts going on this whole long ass unnecessary monologue like she's auditioning to be in the Iliad, which you already know that Homer's the Odyssey, I should say, which you already know Christopher Nolan has made that movie and it's coming out this year. So it's like she trying to do some Shakespeare type. I'm like, okay, y'all need to stop because now you're going on and on and on. This reason made no sense. If she would have just been like, you know what, your book inspired me. I needed to find a way to get you to come out of retirement because of the whole you kind of just became this meek thing person, which she always has been a little kind of to herself and very meek and very seclusive and all that other stuff. That Sydney's always kind of been that girl. And yes, she comes out and has her badass moments, but she always kind of like just becomes a recluse in a lot of ways as I guess that's her way of surviving. But now you can't live like that no more because you got a husband, you got kids, and you got to find ways to protect them. So you can't be an introvert. You got to be an extrovert in a lot of situations. And it was good to see that side of Sydney come out at times, especially when her family was in peril. And so I need a little more of that in the next one and a much stronger script. I also hope that if Kevin Williamson comes back, and I have a feeling they'll probably ask him to make another one, and I'm sure he'll probably say yes. If that's the case. Kevin, really come with a good idea and write it yourself. Don't bring Guy Busick and the other one and all these other. It's like no, because they do not understand these characters. They don't understand Scream and what that is about. I'm looking forward to seeing Scary Movie. Did y'all see that trailer? Because they showed that before the movie, and I did cackle. He said they didn't kill her, they killed them because they them pronouns. So I was living for that. The dildo sequence where she was fighting Ghostface with the dildos, that had me cackling. The little kid was they holding balls? They were like, the fuck? I'm like, I was sitting there like, okay, this trailer is bonkers. But I was living for some of the jokes up in there. So yeah, so that's I hope I covered everything in regards of Scream 7 in regards to that. So it was like, yeah, I like seeing the potential. I'm hoping that we'll get to see more of Tatum take on that role of, you know, surpassing Sydney in a lot of ways. Nev Campbell not coming back in Scream 8. I don't see that not happening. They're definitely going to have her come back because this movie made a shit ton of money. So I'm sure they'll be backing up the Brinks truck to keep Nev back on. And Paramount has pretty much cut themselves into a corner because it's like without the original Final Girl, which they did try to call her, oh, she's past her prime. It's like, fuck you. Which I agree because it's like, don't, it's like how she said in what was, which one was she, did she say, don't fuck with the original? I feel like that's what it is. Y'all can come in and try to bring in new people, which they tried to do, and they threw shade in this movie regarding the other two. But um, you can't fuck with an original character. That's why they keep bringing Jamie Lee Damn Curtis back in a different, you know, Halloween timeline. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, let me know what you guys thought of the film. If you've seen it, what are your overall thoughts, that sort of thing. But before we get up out of here, I do want to get into what the box office was. So, Variety just put this one out, and I did see Anna Camp put out a post, and that was shady. She said, "What she say? Hold on, because Robert sent it to me. Well, she shared it. She didn't actually post it. I mean, she didn't actually put it up herself, but she said the boycott didn't work, the critics' hate didn't work, the pathetic leaks didn't work. What worked was audiences coming out and making the film a success. And at the end of the day, it's up to what the if the fans like it or not. And yeah, so I definitely want to hear from you fans. If did you like the movie, all this stuff? Let me know in the comments. But let's get into the box office, which recently, when did they write this? This was about this morning, I believe, was when we got the actual thing, because the other article I had was from yesterday. So Scream 7 so far has made a killing in its first weekend at the box office, generating 97.2 million in worldwide ticket sales. The latest installment in Paramount Spyglass's media long-running slasher series has collected 33.1 million overseas and 64.1 million domestically. Those returns mark a global, international, and North American record for the franchise, which began with 1996's Scream. Kevin Williamson, who wrote the original film, directed the seventh installment, which follows a new Ghostface killer who targets the daughter of Nev's resilient heroine, Sydney Prescott. Well, I meant Nev Campbell. But y'all know who Nev is. Campbell returned to the franchise after sitting out for a sixth entry over a salary dispute. And sidebar, word on the street was she was paid $7 million to do this movie, and Courtney Cox was given. I think Courtney made $2 million, but Nev made $7 million from for coming back. So they said box office watchers believe that nostalgia for her character's comeback, as well as other legacy cast members, including Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Matthew Lillard, were a factor in the record opening weekend turnout. Sidebar, speaking of which, I almost forgot to mention, let's talk about that montage of killers that they did in the third act, where we got to see David Arquette, Matthew Lillard, and let's also not forget Roman Bridger and Debbie Salt. That was the secret one that they brought out. So Debbie Salt, they had her up in there, and I'm just sitting there like the monologue wasn't monologuing with this whole situation where they were showing all the different clips. I was like, no, this is not something they would say and how they would come across. So clear, like I said, Guy Busick has no idea how to he had no clear understanding of these characters and what Scream really represents, which is why I have such an issue with the script in this whole situation. And my thing is this also, if you're gonna come back with a new one, could you lighten up on the nostalgia? Because I felt like you were using a lot. I mean, it's good to have nostalgia. We love nostalgia because we're in that era now of like we're looking back at things. But if you're gonna look back, we have to find a way to push the story forward. And you need to try to figure out like don't use the nostalgia as a way to mask the fact that there was so many holes in this script and that it was just, a lot of the characters were underwritten. And you could definitely tell that it was just a lot of stuff missing. So premium screens also contributed to the better than expected start. Because I was going to say the fact that I feel like what contributed to it was the fact that for the first time it showed in IMAX, Screen X, and other pricier formats. So that actually, you know, was part of it. That was 40% of their gross came from the IMAX screenings, the Dolby screenings, the ScreenX showings, and all that other stuff. Because a ticket. Well, me, I have A list, so I just pay $27 a month to watch movies, whatever the case is. But the screenings was like, the average person that's going to go see Scream in IMAX, you got to pay like well, in New York, you got to pay, I think, like damn near $30. So it's like 27, 28 bucks a person. So that definitely helped with the ticket prices or whatever the case is. So seems like everybody at Spyglass Media and Paramount, finally Paramount got a hit on their hands, and we're gonna get into Paramount later when we got to talk about all the other craziness that's been going on with them and this whole Netflix deal. But it looks like finally Paramount got something to celebrate because your slate is looking a little thin. So yeah, I don't have a lot of interesting movies and stuff coming out. So yeah, do I have anything else to add to this? I don't think I do. Y'all already know the box office numbers. We don't need to get into all the other stuff. Oh, they said that the market, well, I didn't know this about the marketing campaign. They said, well, we know they show stuff at the Super Bowl. I had no idea that Ghostface appeared at UFC 324 in Vegas. So they were trying to go after all the different demographics. And, this is the 30th anniversary, so maybe that's why they stuck heavily with the nostalgia. But like I said before, the nostalgia, too much nostalgia, kind of, in my opinion, hurt the script because the script just wasn't that strong. So congratulations, Scream. You got another hit on your hands. And what that basically means, we get another one because Hollywood, they will milk a franchise dry until the box office receipt starts to deplete and y'all stop going to the movies to watch it. But as long as there's another thing with Ghostface, can we stop making him trip over furniture? Like that is so old at this point. How many times did Ghostface fall over and trip? Like it's literally like I said, it's like I was watching Stab or a scary movie rather than Scream at certain parts because it was just too much of him tripping over himself. So we got to do better with making Ghostface come across a little more sinister and a little less clumsy. So we got to kind of lighten the load off of that as well. So, and I'm sure there's going to be more stuff that I'm going to come up with that I'm going to add to this whole situation as we go down the pipeline with more Scream conversations. So I'll say all this to y'all because I'm waving my hands. Spoilers done. What did you guys think of this story? Did you go see Scream? What were your overall thoughts? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think they need to just bring in new writers? Do you think they need to retire the franchise? Do you think Ghostface is just a goofy old corny wannabe killer or whatever your thoughts are? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, so we got a lot of comments. Let's go up. Well, damn, Felix, I hope you muted the thing. He said he gonna see it in an hour. Oh yeah, so I read that already. Read that too. Um, Felix said he's seeing Scream in about an hour. Script was weak. Some characters were thinly written, but overall, Never her daughter Tatum made up for it. Yeah, and it was the scenes with um, Sydney, Gail, and the strongest characters in my opinion, Sydney and Gail. And of course, Mindy, I loved her scenes. I wanted more of her. And her and Chad playing off of each other, I like their dynamic, but I felt like they were underused. But and the new kids, they basically they were so underwritten. They were just forgettable throwaway characters, which, if you think about it, that's kind of like how they write a lot of that's how they wrote a lot of the horror movies back in the days. Like when we watched Friday the 13th and those type of films, you had all these kids up in the film. The movie was 90 minutes. You had 30 minutes to get to know everybody, and then they were all killed off in the last like 30 minutes. So you get an hour, some kills in between, little moments with the characters doing whatever, but you don't really get to know them. Nell was carrying this damn movie on her back. Well, she's carried this whole entire franchise on her back, which is why I never understood why y'all didn't give her the money that she was asking for in Scream 6. The girls walking on the sidewalk was a nod too. Tatum running around in town was, yeah, Halloween 2018, because that was and what was her name? Allison, Andy Matichak's character, or Matichak, however the hell you say her name. When she was running through town, that was a nod to Halloween. Yeah, the sidewalk sequence, that was Halloween, the original one from '78. So there was a lot of nods. Why in the hell did Gail not have a chase scene? Because she's tired of being chased. She's like, I'm old. I'm pushing 60. I can't be out here running like I was before. But yeah, I will say this. Even though I had issues with Scream 6, I did love her loft sequence where she was, running around and Ghostface was trying to kill her. That was a good scene. It's like, can you hold, please? While she starts 69, bitch. I'm so looking forward to Scary Movie 6, especially after seeing the trailer. Yeah, that movie was funny. I knew we were gonna see it in the theater. So that's why I was like, let me get there early. They also didn't have any popcorn buckets because I thought about getting one. They had a cup, which I didn't see and it was literally in front of me and I wasn't looking. But I guess it was because it was early in the morning. But they had like this regular screen. It was just rant, like it didn't jump out as like something I needed to buy. So it was just like a regular cup, said Scream on it, and then the top, it was like when you put the straw, there was Ghostface on top of it holding a knife. And I'm like, okay, that just looks, yeah. Rate all the Scream films from best to worst. Okay, we got Scream, Scream 2, Scream 4, Scream 3, Scream 5, Scream 6, and Scream 7, because Scream 7 wasn't that great. So that's like best to worst. Because Scream 6 wasn't that great. Scream 5 wasn't that great. It had moments. And Scream 7, in my opinion, was the weakest one, but it had there was sequences in there that was really good. It's just a lot of stuff in that movie just didn't make sense. But I had a fun time with it. It's just I just picked the script apart. When you got certain people like John Campion talking about worst movie ever, I'm like, okay, get the fuck out of here. Number one, you're coming in with a bias because you're not even a fan of the franchise, and you said this yourself. But you decided to go to the movies to see it because you needed content to talk about and go on your little Pisces rant. So he needed to do that. And then there were a lot of the regular schmegular people. The one that I will have to say that I thought gave the best, well, I love Drum Dums, and he knows because we have conversations online. We go back and forth. He loved the film. So, and then he's even said this. He said, "Do I have bad taste in movies?" I'm like, sometimes you do. And damn, what was the other one that I watched? Something. Damn, I forgot his name. Because they do a podcast together. It was another guy that does a podcast with Lee over at Drum Dums. Loved it. The one I felt like gave the most nuanced one because he picks like, okay, here's the good parts, here's the parts that was bad, and really goes in and dissects it with its fine tooth comb. I love Cody Leach and his reviews on horror films. I thought that his critique of the film was the best critique that I've seen out of many of the pundits online. I do be feeling like a lot of people get online and they just want to say certain things or act a certain way because they trying to be like other people or they want to clickbait or whatever case. And I'm like, I can't take you seriously. But the one that gave like a real nuanced version where it's like, we're going to go through everything and say, here's the highlights, here's the lowlights, here's what they need to work on, here, and all the other things. I like those type of things because it's multi-layered rather than, this movie sucked and here's why. It's like, okay, you're rage baiting. That to me, that's boring. It's like, yes, you are correct. I feel like Ghostface could have been not killed. It's like, we ain't got to kill him. You had three killers over there. You could have one of them get away. And then during one of the scenes where they played that music and it was kind of going off, you could have had like a Ghostface a couple, like maybe a block away, hiding behind a tree, and then runs off, and then it cuts, fades to black, and the credits roll. Something like that. They could have came, you know, and also should have unmasked the ghost. And I was thinking that that would have been a good scene too. That, and I said that her killing of her own son, I was sitting there like, um, that should have been an accident situation because remember, because it was Jessica that was in that bar. Based on if you paid attention, and I knew it was more than one killer because during the sequence that was happening in the bar, when Tatum went off with the boyfriend in the car, and then the AI thing came up on the laptop, which I'm like, that scene is stupid. Y'all trying to throw us a curveball to make us think it's him, and I'm like, why all of a sudden now it's like, oh yeah, I wanted to see if I could make the thing, but you were making the thing, and you were saying all this thing about killing her mother. Like, why would you write that line in there? Because you were trying to do a deflection situation, kind of like Scream One, where it's like, well, we kind of knew that it was Billy Loomis, but the way that the character was written by Kevin Williamson, he was confusing the hell out of us. I'm like, is it Billy or no? I don't think it's him. No, it can't be him. Oh no, it's him. No, it can't be him. Then the fake out with the stabbing in the room, and what while Ghostface is chasing Sydney, which was Stu, fake stabbing Billy. That would have been like, okay, that throws us off. So we're seeing it happen. It didn't happen off camera. And that was like the trickery of it all. So he kept playing with our emotions in that whole damn movie. And that's what I said I liked about that first script. But no, we didn't get that in this one because I would have been like, okay, she's trying to kill I can't remember the girl's name, the black girl, Celeste O'Connor. That's her real name. While she's busy trying to kill her, he tries to fight off Ghost because he doesn't know it's his mother. He's innocent in the whole situation, even though they were trying to throw it off, having us think it was him. No, it's a crazy ass mother. And then she could have pushed him just to get him off because it was like she's trying to get not she doesn't want to hurt her son. So she pushes him off, but she pushes him so hard he gets impaled on something and ends up accidentally killing him. And then during that scene, after she done killed everybody in the bar or whatever, or knocked certain people out, she could have unmasked herself. We could have had that moment. But then of course there's another killer. So they could have found a way to amplify that. Y'all got to take risks. That's another thing too. The next one, please take risks with this whole situation. Y'all so fixated on this whole plot armor situation. Like y'all gave plot armor to Mark Evans because I'm like, all them stabbings he alive again. Y'all doing that plot armor shit. Stop it. Y'all didn't give Sydney no type of stakes in this damn movie too. That was another thing. Let Kevin Winston write the script, and he did a great job directing. I mean, there were certain issues that I had with the editing, but overall, I think but when the next film comes, he'll get better. Basically, it was our obsession of Sydney Evans and how we couldn't let her go. I love Laurie Metcalf as Billy's mother in Scream 2. She was funny when she plays Cray. Yeah, and funny. Oh, speaking of which, Laurie Metcalf was at the Garden today. Now that I think about it, she was because she's doing a play on Broadway. She was at Madison Square Garden, and everybody's sitting there like lukewarm clap. I'll say, so none of y'all saw Scream 7 this fucking weekend? Because why are the claps lukewarm? Y'all don't remember her in that? Speaking of which, who else was there that was Whoopi Goldberg was there too. There was a lot of people at the Garden. Because it was the Knicks game. They won. She said that in Scream 4 when her cousin tried oh yeah, don't fuck with the original. That was Scream 4. By Wednesday, it's going to cross 100 million, but I do see it crossing 130 in the US. The critics' take wasn't about the movie. It's expected a second weekend at number one, as The Bride is looking at 15 million. I do want to see The Bride. Also, you know what else is coming out? Mila Jovovich has a new movie coming out where I guess her daughter is trafficked and she goes to try to track her down and seek revenge against the people who traffic her daughter. We've seen that story told tales all the time. It's been told by so many people, but I love watching Mila Jovovich in action movies. I do want to see that film, but I think it's going to tank. So Scream doesn't have anything to worry about. You said Scream 2. Wait, where's the? Oh, you said Scream 2. Oh, because I'll say, where's the first one? Obviously, the first one is Scream. So you said Scream 2, and you picked 4? Oh, wait, did I say the same thing? I said I like Scream 2, Scream 4. Yeah, I think we got the same. We pretty much had the same list. Scream the original, then Scream 2, Scream 4, even though it had certain issues with the film, I do think it's a stronger movie than people give it credit. Scream 3, it was a little I feel like when I watch that movie again, it's a little too silly. So, but I do love Parker Posey. I love her role, her playing the Gail Evans type character, the way she hams it up. I do love that, and some of the meta Hollywood stuff, especially pertaining to Harvey Weinstein, because they were spilling his tea before y'all even knew he was out here graping actresses and things. And yeah, so we pretty much got the same list because the later screams. I had to turn the volume down when you were giving spoilers because I said that turn down the thing when I'm talking about screams and you don't know what it is. I was saying in your last show, I have a niece named Nev. She'll be and she's 12 and the movie started, so clearly somebody was a Scream fan that they named their child Nev. I went to an early morning show in IMAX. It was a relatively big crowd, but it wasn't packed. And I think it's probably because it was early in the morning. And a lot of kids were in school and a lot of people were at work. So, but yeah, it wasn't a lot of people. It was a good amount of people, but it wasn't packed because it was an IMAX. Well, this movie drive the franchise the one. Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely. Because it's at 900 something odd million dollars. So it's gonna gross. It'll definitely I mean, where is your music? Listen, I'll take you for yeah, because I know you don't watch those films. One of my favorite genres is slasher films, so I'm very much hard on the film. Just like I don't know if y'all saw the new trailer for In a Violent Nature 2. Um, I just hope it's not boring like the first one. Because if y'all just gonna be having us watching Johnny walking around in the woods again until he kill people, I'm gonna be annoyed. So I need them to balance it out. You said, but I heard it's great from my friends who are fans of the franchise. I'm getting the Amazon exclusive home video version. Comes with a 2027 calendar and exclusive toy. Jesus, I never know they had like a exclusive situation. It made $1 billion this weekend. Made what Scream and some chunk change. Now Nev has extra leverage. Yeah, because she's definitely gonna come back for the next one. I'm going again this week to get a poster. They didn't give me a damn poster. I'm like, shit. I was in IMAX. I was like, what my poster at? I should have asked them, like, y'all ain't got posters? The poster is the Texas Chainsaw. Oh wait, the poster that you're getting a Texas Chainsaw Massacre poster? Yeah. Yeah. There was certain parts and it was like, okay, Kevin wrote that. Then it was certain things where it was like, Guy Busey, you're not a good writer. I mean, maybe you are a good writer, you're just not a good writer for screen. All right, so now that we got that out the way, we were talking about horror films. Let's get into this franchise that I think this might be we might be at the end of this franchise actually. Let's get into some Terrifier 4 news. So Damien Leone got on social media and gave us an update on what we could expect. Wait, hold on, because I just realized that I had something open that I should have closed. Okay, anyway, now back to the story. Okay, so Damien Leone gave fans an update because he said there's a lot of rumors going online regarding what we could be expecting about Terrifier 4, when it's going to start, all that other stuff. And he's like, I'm gonna give you all an update. And I believe he gave it to us courtesy of Facebook, or as I like to call it, Facha Book. So at the world premiere of Terrifier 3, franchise writer slash director Damien Leone said there will be a Terrifier 4, and he later said he thinks that will be his last entry in the franchise because he doesn't want it to wear out its welcome. And sidebar, I understand like Hollywood loves this whole, well, we need to keep making we need to make a Terrifier 10 and a 13 and a 15. I do like the idea if you create an iconic character, go out with a bang and just be like, you know what? I'm done. We had a fun ride. I don't have any more to give regarding this character. I don't just want Art the Clown to just be going around killing people for the sake of killing people. There's a method to his madness. So if it's only a certain thing when you got to tell a story and it caps at that certain point, that's great. And if anything, if we want, we can always revert back to the other movies if you want to get a taste of Art the Clown. Don't overstay your welcome. which is what I guess a lot of people would say about Scream. Scream could last if y'all kind of just found ways to zhuzh the character up, give new life to it, have a new perspective and that sort of thing. But if Damien Leone didn't want to come back and do it, I mean, it's up to the studio whether or not they want to keep making them. But if David Leone don't come back, or David Howard Thornton doesn't want to come back and play Art the Clown, then I feel like the purists of the franchise, I don't know if they'd be on board with wanting to see a Terrifier movie without those two involved in the franchise. So Leone basically said the script is almost done and he hopes to have the project in pre-production this spring. So Leone had a budget of around $55,000 to work with on his breakout horror film Terrifier and a budget of a little over $250,000 for Terrifier 2, which was a massive hit when it was released in 2022, earning 15.1 million at the box office. Terrifier 3 has a substantially higher budget, which sidebar, they also reference they parody Terrifier in the new Scary Movie trailer, which was funny. Um, they said a couple million went into that one, and it paid off as the film ranked in over 76 million at the box office. So Terrifier 4 will probably have a much larger budget. But if y'all gonna do a large budget, don't do it to the point where it's like y'all waste the money on frivolous crap. Like really put the money toward, because I know like Damien Leone is somebody who is very much about practical effects and that sort of thing. So I would like for him to use it towards like props and practical effects rather than, frivolous crap. Because I always hate when people put a lot of budget behind a movie and then they want to do digital, whatever, and it cheats the audience. But like I said, Damien seems to be, based off of what we've seen, he's a fan of practical, effects and things. Now, writing on Twitter, Leone said to his followers, he says, since there's so much Terrifier 4 speculation and false information out there, I want to drop in and give an actual update. The script is very close to completion, and I'm hoping to begin pre-production in the spring. This is the most precious script I've written for many reasons, but it's also the most challenging. There's a lot of material to tackle and a lot writing on this one, not just creatively, but emotionally. We've built something special together over the years. The cast and crew who have been here since the beginning deserve a finale that honors their dedication, and the fans who champion this franchise deserve something unforgettable. In all honesty, I'm thrilled with the way it's turning out and confident it will deliver. I will officially announce when the script is complete on my social media pages, which also means we'll be moving into pre-production. If you don't see it coming from our confirmed by me, then it's not official. I promise it will be worth the wait. So in the future, y'all start hearing rumors and all this other mess. If Damien Leone don't sit up there and announce it on his social media or reveals it to us, then it's not true. And as somebody who was a fan of, or we could it just be speculation, and as somebody who is a fan of the Terrifier franchise and all the crazy kills that they put up in that film, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they wrap this up, especially since they kind of left us on a cliffhanger with Terrifier 3. But I believe that Damien said that this is it. After Terrifier 4, he's done. And I think 4 is enough. As the old show used to say, 8 is enough. This one half of it is enough. 4 is good to go out. And David Howard Thornton, I'm sure, wants to go off and do other things. Like he has Stream, Stream, Stream 2 that he's supposed to be filming, because I saw the original Stream with Danielle Harris and a bunch of other iconic horror movie aficionados was in that one. That's where they had to go to a hotel and there was these killers that basically would rack up points by murdering people in the most craziest of ways. So if you haven't seen that movie, definitely check it out. It's out there somewhere. You can rent it or buy it. And so he's supposed to be in a sequel to that film. So it'll be interesting to see what David Howard Thornton, if I didn't mention, that's what I was meaning, because he was in that movie, will be doing that. And so, like I said, and I'm sure David Howard Thornton, because kind of like Chad Stahelski with the John Wick movies, he made 4 John Wick films. Now he's moved on to Highlander, which is currently shooting overseas. I think at this point, Damien is ready to like move on and take on a whole different story, a new character, and come up with something new and different and not just focus on Art the Clown. Because you don't want to be, I mean, if you're lucky to get a franchise going from a beloved character that you've created, that's awesome. But some people don't want to be a one-hit wonder. Some people want to actually spread their wings and do other things. So, um, I'm looking forward to this. Oh wait, now hold on, because they did say, speaking with Slasher Radio, he said, "Is this going to be the true finale?" I feel like this might be the finale of this story arc that Leone is going with for right now, and might give it a rest for a few years and might return later onto it. I have no idea, but I'm excited nonetheless. And this is what David Howard Thornton had said about um the thing. So I'm sitting there trying to be like, yeah, if he's ready to go out with a bang, go out with a bang. But David Allen Thornton himself says he doesn't think this is the end. That he probably is like, this is the end of the arc. And then if he comes up with a new idea down the road, then he may revisit Art the Clown again. And it will be kind of like how they've done with the It franchise. It is only one big ass book. They made a miniseries in the 90s. They made two movies, It Chapter 1 and 2, a couple years ago, and then they made Welcome to Derry. So if you have a way where you can take a pre-existing IP and put a new spin on it and give it a different idea, then I'm sure we'll get that. But who knows? Maybe we'll be able to squeeze a fifth one out of him. Who knows? But yeah, so I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story regarding the latest? Damien Leone is speaking out about Terrifier 4. Are you looking forward to this movie? You like hurry up and get this movie off the ground because we've been waiting a minute for a damn new Terrifier movie. So whatever your thoughts are on this story, let me know in the comments down below. Was it because it was gross or because you just didn't particularly care for the character? He said three is enough. I could barely make it through one. Well, yeah, because some of them kills in that movie was crazy, especially the shower scene in the last one. I was like, y'all doing the most up in here. Even I was cringing. It takes a lot to get me to cringe. All right, y'all. So now let's get into the story of the hour. Let's talk about the impeccable doom that is about to bestow upon all of Hollywood because the Ellisons is literally trying to buy up all of our media and control everything that we see and we get information wise. So, plot twist. We didn't think that it was going to be a situation that goes on where Paramount would acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. I thought it was a done deal with Netflix. But something that happened with Netflix recently got me side-eyeing y'all and saying, was this a little stunt that y'all was all pulling so that way y'all can kind of get your little money overall? So I'm gonna break it down once we go through the article. So, according to Variety, it said Paramount Skydance is poised to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery in its entirety after a whirlwind afternoon in which Netflix dropped out of the hunt, despite having reached an agreement in December to acquire most of Warner Brothers Discovery. Well, there was a lot of stunts and shenanigans that was going on in that whole situation. Netflix was trying to go about things the right way. David Ellison was out here being a stunt queen alongside his crazy ass looking father because all that damn surgery he got on his face. I don't know who looks the worst, him or Kelly Osbourne. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Um, so he went and was like trying to acquire majority of his father's money because his father owns Oracle. Oracle was like this software situation that was not that big back in the 70s. I think it was like 1976 when it was launched, but then he was like ahead of his time with the whole situation and it blew up to become this big billion-dollar company. And so he's been using a lot of his money and his influence and stuff because, especially when it comes to media, Oracle is at the head of that. So, um, with that being said, it's a lot of what I felt like was a little stunts and shows and things. David Ellison went to the State of the Union address to cozy up the Trump. And he's been doing that for a while. And I think maybe all of this was in the plans where it was like, you gave me the wherewithal to get Paramount, which quiet as it's kept, Paramount don't have a lot of interesting IPs up in there to begin with. Warner Brothers has a much bigger library, in my opinion, than Paramount. So how are you able to buy Paramount and then 6 months later you're able to get Warner Brothers Discovery? Well, trying to acquire it because they still got a couple of things to go through. You got a couple of I's to dot and a couple of T's to cross, so they haven't gotten it yet. So we don't have to, panic just that because I was like, wait, where's the article where it says that um they have to basically conduct now that it's on their side and Netflix dropped out, they have to conduct a vigorous review of their acquisition. And that would the acquisition meaning Paramount Skydance's acquisition of Warner Brothers. So um who knows? This might not even go all the way through because you got to remember the midterms is coming, and Trump is going to try to pull some stunt so that the midterms don't happen, so that way the Democrats don't come and sweep in, and then he gets impeached, and because of all the crazy stuff he's doing. Most recently, attacking Iran for some godforsaken reason. Oh, I know, because allegedly they threatened to release stuff about him and Jeffrey Epstein. So when you go and put that out there, I'm like, you literally just wagging, come blow us up. You should have just dropped it, not said a word, put it out there, and had everybody clutch their pearls. And then by the retaliation, makes it look like he's the crazy man, the tyrant that's guilty. That's the way they should have played it. But Iran, y'all showed y'all hand, and now look at you. That kids got blown up at the school and all this other stuff. But that's not what we're here for. But of course, politics is playing into all of this. And I know some people, why you got to bring politics? Because this is the game they've been playing from the beginning, even down to not David Ellison, Ted Sarandos, who is one of the co-CEOs of Netflix, going down to the White House to visit Trump. He met with Pam Bondi, who that psycho bitch. Remember, she just got recently read the riot act in front of a bunch of politicians. And she went up there doing all kinds of political theater, looking even crazier than she normally does. Met up with her. Then after whatever happened in that meeting, then all of a sudden Netflix drops out because y'all were playing hardball for the longest. And then all of a sudden y'all drop out. So what happened in that little meeting? Something went on. Because remember also, there was somebody who was also on the Netflix board that I remember seeing this article in Variety. Trump wanted Ted Sarandos to fire that person. I don't remember the exact reason why, but he wanted him to fire it. And Ted is like, I'm not playing these games with you. Everybody else could kiss your ass and bend the knee and all these other things. I'm not playing this game with you. Which basically, if you look at it, David Ellison has been playing this ass kissing game, making Trump think he's in control of the Super, which he kind of is in so many ways. But if you play his game, you kiss his behind a little bit, you tell him how great he is and all this other stuff, you flatter him a little bit. It doesn't take much to flatter Trump in order for him to think that you're on his side and to give you whatever he wants. So I think the reason why Netflix dropped out is because I believe that this regime was going to make it hard for them to acquire Warner Brothers. I think maybe after the whole midterms and this whole thing won't really go through until they look at everything. It has to be Europe as well as the United States that has to look through all the stuff, the antitrust laws, all the other stuff. And I'm still trying to understand everything that was going on here because I've been insanely overwhelmed trying to read all this because in my mind, as a consumer, as a moviegoer, it's a dark day in Hollywood. The fact that you have someone who and I will say this, I've liked a lot of Skydance's ideas in regards of movies that they produce, particularly Mission Impossible and so many other films. Skydance has produced a lot of great films, but it's the media control that I'm worried about because we clearly see what their agenda is from what they're doing to CBS. And now you're going to own CNN and do it over there. But be clear, CNN has already been a little MAGA light, especially when they got that smug piece of shit, Scott Jennings, who sits up there on Abby Phillips' stupid. I don't like her show either. She sits up there, and I don't give a fuck. Oh, she's a black woman. Don't no, we're not gonna sit up and hear you gender and color and all the other shit. If these people are doing what they're doing, and you can do like Joy Reid and Don Lemon and skedaddle and go on social media and build your own channel on YouTube. You don't have to cut to a lot of these corporate centrist ideologies. And fuck you too, Rachel Maddow, because I seen that little propaganda shit you was putting on your channel about this whole thing with the war that's going on. And yeah, just because she's a member of the Levitical community don't mean she ain't gonna get a lashing either. So um I just don't like what they're trying to do in regards of owning the media and trying to steer things in a certain direction on right-wing propaganda. You already have y'all channels. You got Fox News, you got Newsmax, you got Page Six, you got all these other channels and newspapers and whatever. Y'all have enough blogs and stuff where you can spew your propaganda and people believe it. But now it's like, and we already know like a lot of the Democrats, and that'd be the Hakeem Jeffries, the Kamala Harrises, the Bill Clinton type of Democrats. They steer more Republican in a lot of their ideology than real centrist Democrats. Well, not real centrist, real progressive Democrats, like a Ro Khanna or an AOC or a Zoran Mamdani. These are more progressive Democrats. I ain't even putting Jasmine Crockett in there because Jasmine Crockett is a Zionist, and she also got an endorsement for Kamala Harris. I'm like, do you want to lose? Clearly, you do, because you got Kamala Harris. I'm endorsing. I'm like, no, ma'am, go away, please. And then she's talking about she might run. Read the room, sis. They don't want you. It's no shade. We don't want you, and we already know why you lost the election because you didn't stand up for the genocide in Palestine. And that's what a lot of the voters wanted. But this ain't about them. I'm just going into the whole political situation where things are turning. So liberal leaning networks are getting very conservative in a lot of the information that they're putting out there for people like my parents per se would watch and retain the information and think all of that stuff is factual. I'm like, they're feeding you propaganda because they're not on here on social media like YouTube and all these other places where I'm doing a lot of progressive research and the curtain is being peeled back on what's really happening in the world. And when you have Zionists like the Ellisons who want to control the narrative, they're controlling TikTok. They own that now. Speaking of which, maybe we should get into what they will own. Shout out to Comic Book Movie for this because they have the list. I was like, oh, this is perfect for the channel. Let me see what it is. Okay. Okay, so they said if the deal goes through, Paramount will have access to the following: TNT, CBS, CNN, MTV, surprising that's still around, Turner Classic Movies, Showtime, Adult Swim, DC Studios, Nickelodeon, HBO, HBO Max, Comedy Central. But I'm wondering what will happen to HBO Max. Are they going to get rid of HBO? Because HBO has been a staple long before I was born. There was HBO, which shocked me. I'm like, wait, cable was around before I was born? And this is like 1970, like the 70s. I was like, I didn't even know cable lasted, but it was something different back then. It wasn't what it is now. But does that mean they're gonna get rid of HBO? Because HBO's been a great staple and we love what they do over there. Also with DC, they said that they're not getting rid of Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi as well as Peter Safran and James Gunn. Now James Gunn don't like Trump. We've seen that many a times when it comes to this situation. And what I'm also afraid of, because we need to get into this list, but I just had a moment and I don't want to lose it. Um, Speaking of which, I'm sitting here yapping this whole time. I ain't put up a picture as a reference. What I'm worried about is the fact that does this mean that any kind of movies will be coming? Because, like I said before, I love a lot of what Skydance has produced, but I'm like, does that mean that we're no longer going to get nuanced movies because Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi have really taken risks with giving us different types of films. I believe they're also behind The Bride, which is coming out this week, which is a different take on Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. They gave us Sinners, they gave us Weapons, they gave us One Battle After Another, they gave us Final Destination Bloodlines. They've been behind so many great movies in the past year, even though Warner Bros. Still was losing money. But they've been taking a lot of swings and they've been getting a lot of hits in the theater. They're not, they're still going to be able to do what they do. But James Gunn is like, is he going to want to stick around? That's kind of what I'm wondering. So yeah, before I forget, let me get into the list of, I was like, where is it? Okay. So it's the HBO Max, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network. So those are all the channels. Now the movies. They will have the rights to Star Trek, Gremlins, Beetlejuice, DC Comics, Tom and Jerry, Harry Potter, Citizen Kane, Transformers, A Quiet Place, Looney Tunes, The Conjuring, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, Dora the Explorer. Well, they already Mission Impossible, yeah, because that's Skydance. And also, what was the other one that I saw? Oh, Star Trek, that's Paramount. So yeah, they have that. Lord of the Cock Rings, SpongeBob SquarePants, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that's what they would literally have. That would be all the IP that they actually have access to. So I kind of feel like because they didn't want to deal with the headache of Trump and them making the life a little bit because you already know that David Ellis was going to go up in there and stomp his feet. He even met with gay ass, Lady G, Lindsey Graham, to try to get things on their side with this whole situation. And he played hardball and he got what he wanted. And they're saying that basically, you know how much they're going to get over there at if it goes through? $111 billion. Where are they getting this money from? Because they're already in debt. The Ellis is already in debt over there. They Oracle's lost a lot of money. I think they're over almost $400 billion in debt. So with their 111 billion, they were allowed to go over to Saudi Arabia and bring them in. I thought that was an issue before. Now it's being allowed. So yeah, there's that. But so yeah, I've been trying to read a lot of articles and stuff on this. It's still a lot. But one of the things I did come across, and we could wrap this up because I'm sure we'll be talking about this for a while in regards of all this information. And as the days progress, I will probably be speaking a lot more candidly about this as it goes on because I'm sure that it'll be broken down more. There was one person that pretty much said, "Hold your horses," because they said that it's not a done deal. This is what the California Attorney General said. Rob Bonta, California Attorney General, is promising to conduct a vigorous review of Paramount Skydance acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery as he warned the companies not to get ahead of the regulatory process in their celebrations, which means that he's going to probably try to pull little moves to get over there and have Trump do what he do, be a spokesperson, be the salesman, the used car salesman, start ranting and raving, throwing temper tantrums online, calling people idiots and all this other stuff like he always does, just to bully this guy. And Rob, you need to stand your ground. If you're there as an attorney general to do a job, you swore an oath. We need to have some type of decorum and dignity in this country regarding the law and following the law. And people not realize just because you got a lot of money and access and power and you have a lot of people in your corner that you are the end all be all and you get to just say and do whatever without any kind of consequence. So stand your ground, sir. Don't let that orange fuck bully you into submission. So hold on, because where was I? It said Bonta weighed in on the merger hours after Netflix declined to raise its bid for Warner Brothers, which all but positioned Paramount as the winner in the bidding war. Also, I should point this out. So yeah, they dropped out. I still want to know the reason what was said in that office that got him shook to being like, I'm a bow out. And it's like it's something that it would be nice to have, but I don't need the necessary. I'm paraphrasing, but that was what he said. Like, I don't really need it that bad. So what was all of this desperate? Like, why did y'all want it so bad for? Because I thought it would have been a great idea. A streaming service that built itself from the ground up and from nothing started out, you could rent 5 DVDs at home, and then became this big digital juggernaut. Because I didn't know anything about Netflix growing up until my father basically started renting Netflix movies, and it was like, oh, you can actually rent DVDs and from this little red box thing or whatever the case is, and they deliver it to your house. You don't have to go down to the video store like Blockbuster, like we or the mom and pop video stores in the '80s anymore. Like they could actually deliver it to your house. That's awesome. And that's basically what and then it became this big digital powerhouse. So Netflix is the future because people aren't really watching TV like that. So I'm kind of wondering, is this even a good idea for them to own something like this? Because you know, people aren't really watching linear TV like that anymore. So you might have wasted your money. But like I said, it's a power. It to me, it just seems like a power thing, and I do think that you're kind of looking at you're not looking at the bigger picture. Or maybe David Ellison is, but I don't think other people are. So they said if the government rubber stamps the deal As largely expected, the only approval Paramount would need to complete the merger is from European regulators. Another consideration is potential lawsuits from states looking to block the acquisition. California will almost surely lead any effort on this front because California is the capital of movie making. It's Hollywood. So if they go in and file a lawsuit, who knows how long this will be caught up in legalities? And what may happen is that by the time everything is untangled, this web is untangled. This woven this woven web is untangled. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Once we get past that, we probably have a new administration in office, and everything that y'all was trying to do before, because certain person ain't in power no more, so he ain't in your corner. He can't cut all around all the other shit, so you be able to get what you want. Now it's gonna get to a point where it's like the deal is null and void. And if that happens, Warner Brothers gets paid $7 billion, just like their breakup fee over at Netflix. They were just paid $2.8 billion. So it kind of makes me wonder, was all this so that way y'all can get a little pocket change? You got the 2.8 billion plus I heard that the stock was going down from Netflix while they were trying to acquire Warner Brothers, and we already know there's little stunts and stuff where the Dow goes down, y'all start pulling little stunts and stuff for it to go back up. This has been happening a lot with a lot of these people on Wall Street. Same thing I believe happened with Netflix. Their stock went up 10% after they dropped out of the thing. So it kind of is like the math ain't, it's looking a little suspicious in how they're setting all this up. So that's why I'm side eyeing all of this, because I'm like, oh, so corporate people are just doing corporate shit. And I feel like at the end of the day, those who are going to be affected by this is us, the consumer, in Hollywood. Because it's like, what kind of product are they going to have to do? Because they're giving a lot of problematic ass people jobs. They're bringing Brett Ratner's problematic ass back to make another Rush Hour. Max Landis, who was accused years ago and caught up in the whole Me Too situation, being abusive to his exes and all this other stuff. He's writing a GI Joe script. He's writing one, and Danny McBride is writing one separately, not together. So, but Max Landis came out. That's the big controversy, and so you're giving a lot of people who are deemed problematic positions. But I was hearing, because Jeff Snyder talked about this on the hot mic, that Max Landis actually has been out there. Wait, is that his name? Wait, hold on. Let me check, because I said Max Landis. Max Landis, is he the one that wait, who is Oh, I was right. Max Landis. I was bugging because I was like, "Is it Max Landis?" Yeah, it was him. Okay, so gotta trust the brain because he wrote Chronicle and things of that nature. Danny McBride, he writes the Righteous Gemstones. He also did the Halloween trilogy alongside David Gordon Green, so we can kind of side on him on those because the first one was good, the last two, but yeah, Max Landis is coming back. He's doing what he's doing. And from what I heard is like, yeah, he's been out here actually working on himself and getting better. And I feel like that's what we should be rooting for. If people are out here doing the work and trying to get better, they should be given a second chance rather than us crucifying that person for the rest of their life. So before we get up out of here, because I did want to get to this, there was a lot that was going on. David Zaslav had, with some leaked audio, he told employees Paramount deal felt a little whiplashy. So it was just a lot going on. And that's kind of like what this administration gives. It's a lot of just chaos. There's a lot of whiplashy going on. And I should also point out that Elizabeth Warren called this deal an antitrust disaster and said a handful of Trump aligned billionaires are trying to seize control of what you watch and charge you whatever price they want. And I do believe that that's coming. But um, Ted Sarandos, so we can, wrap this up, because I was giving my theories, he actually spoke out after losing the bid. So shout out to Variety for this story. Serenos gave the interview to Lucas Shaw at Bloomberg where he didn't mince words about losing out to Paramount. In the Q&A, Shaw mentioned that Serenos was dealing with an unusual other buyer. Unusual, yeah, unusual, irrational, whatever words you want to use in that, Serenos said. It'll be fascinating to see the next steps. I've been on the record a lot in the last 2 weeks talking about what I think the future looks like. I'm confident in our future and we're not impacted by all that. In fact, maybe it's to our advantage, but I hope I'm wrong for the sake of the industry. He also spoke about President Trump's political pressure and if he thought, see, did I tell y'all that he was using his political strong arming? I alluded to that. Now he's saying it in the article. His political pressure and if he thought it spooked Warner Brothers shareholders. Saying it's a lot cheaper to make noise than it is to actually raise your bid. So they tried that path first. Once it was clear that we weren't in the CNN business, it was a lot less interesting. He didn't care that much more about our deal. Didn't I tell you they wanted CNN? I don't know why people. This is why y'all call me the prophet of pop culture because I call shit out, and then weeks later they say the thing that I've been saying for the longest. They want the media. They want to control CNN and do it the way they've been doing to CBS. Now Ted is saying it. He's like, we didn't want the news stuff. They want all of it. They just wanted the studio and HBO because that's the content they create. I mean, I know it's an ugly word in a lot of ways when we're talking about Hollywood because that's what I do. I create content, but that's the future. They wanted the content so that way they could put it on their streamings, their network. They could have access to those things. Warner Brothers was still going to be able to do what they do. I'm sure there would still been job cuts, but Warner Brothers wanted to do what they usually do, and that was that. But they want the media. So Serrano's also discussed why Netflix ultimately decided to throw in the towel. He said we had a very tight range that we'd be willing to pay and made that offer back when we closed this deal. We hadn't moved much from that except for moving to cash, which served to move the deal faster. I'm happy where we got in and happy where we got out. We knew right away when we got the notice on Thursday that they had a superior offer and the details of that deal, we knew exactly what we were going to do. Because it was like because they said they have 4 days to answer whether or not they're gonna counter the offer or raise the bid, whatever the case. It was like, if we already have a decision, why are we gonna have people wait 4 days? So they told them right after. So that's what it is. It's like y'all out here playing games, and it's like that's great. That's great. Go ahead and fuck up Warner Brothers, ruin CNN, ruin CBS. You're just burning, in the words of whoever it was that burned Stu's house down in Scream 7. I'm gonna burn it all down, and if that's what you want to do for the sake of trying to control the media, you go ahead and do that. But those of us who actually are unplugged from the matrix, we will continue to get our real progressive media from social media. And by social media, I mean those who are out here really spilling the tea on stuff that's going on, like Pondering Politics, like Kyle Kalinske, like his wife. I don't particularly care for Sager, but his wife with her show, The Midas Touch, Sabby Sabs, the I've Had It ladies, um, even Ebro Norm Rosenberg over there with their independent show. I would say Don Lemon, but he's still over here every now and again doing that corporate centrist talking point stuff. Like he sounds very CNN every now and again, so I can't incorporate him in there. But if you want to call yourself independent because you by yourself out in these streets with a producer and you doing it on YouTube rather than at CNN or whatever channel that you would be on if you were in linear TV, then that's great. But there are a lot of independent conglomerates out here who are really spilling the tea and informing people on what's really going on in the world. And you don't need tied ass CNN and CBS to tell you a bunch of kids' table bullshit that's written in a teleprompter by a bunch of corporate Zionist hacks. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. I don't want to spend all day talking about this because it's so much and we got a lot of topics to get to, but I will definitely, as the days progress, keep you guys abreast of this story as it develops. We still have a long way to go regarding breaking down this whole situation. We have another year and some change to go before it becomes official. Fingers crossed that it's like, okay, while y'all are up in here doing this little strong arming and the stunts and the shows and all the other mess to get a hold of this franchise, I mean, this whole studio, that there will be some people who have some kind of decorum that's not going to bend the knee and just break rules or whatever, just so that way you could acquire a company that you shouldn't be able to acquire and swallow up just because you have a lot of money and you have a lot of political affiliates, and because it's the interest of the shareholder over the consumer, because the shareholders can do whatever they want. It's up to us to go out here and support whatever type of product that these people are going to be putting out. And if y'all go up in here and ruin this thing with your little propaganda films, it'll show at the end of the day. The people are smart enough to know, like, okay, when they're being played a fool. So as I said, I'll definitely keep you guys abreast of this story. Let me know your overall thoughts in the comments down below. People need to understand politics and entertainment. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I fight about why you gotta bring politics and stuff. I'm like, you do know that people can multitask. I've always had the ability to do multiple things at once. I can walk and chew gum. I can tap my head and rub my belly. I mean, you probably see my hand. Look, I'll put it up here. See, look. Multitask, bitch. I can do multiple things. So, um, yes, politics does play a lot of roles in a lot of what we do now, especially because this regime has turned politics into entertainment. They've been able to find ways to make it collide. Y'all want entertainment in your politics. Y'all want WWE style pyrotechnics and all this other craziness now in your politics. So you can't have your cake and eat it. Only when it's your side and you like whoever you like, then you get all the entertainment aspect. But then when it's not something you agree with, then you want to go and say, well, why are you bringing this in? I'm like, but you were just entertained by the foolishness. We kind of play your game on your level. Why are you getting upset? Because it's something that you don't agree with. Breaking news, Zendaya and Tom Holland are married. Oh, that's so nice. I wonder if she's pregnant. Because remember, that was a story. So congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Holland. They were meant for each other. Hopefully they don't get a divorce. I am looking forward to the new Spider-Man movie. When y'all gonna drop a trailer? Y'all gotta drop one soon. Maybe we'll get one next month. Or maybe at the end of this month. This is a big month. So we should be getting it soon. Because when does the new Spider-Man movie come out? July? We should get some kind of teaser. All right. Okay, so now let's move on. Ciao. Let's get to this mess. So apparently Jonathan Majors is making a acting comeback, but this goes to show you are cooked. And with your career. Because Jonathan Majors got a new gig. He's going to be starring in a new action film produced by Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire. Yes, that's how the mighty have fallen. And look, he's not the only one. There was a speaking of which, the guy who directed the movie that he was in, that he's going to be starring in, directed a movie called that I believe was produced by the Daily Wire called Run Hide Fight. Now, Run Hide Fight, I'm wondering if it has anything to do with that video that I had to watch when I'm at the garden. We have to watch this movie every year, Run Hide and Fight, which is basically if something crazy happens and there's a situation that happens where there's a pow power in your vicinity, that you either run, you hide, or when your back is up against the wall, you gotta fight to protect your ass and save your ass. So what that has to do with that? But Isabel May was in that movie, by the way. I should point that out. Who is Tatum? I'm gonna say Tatum Riley. Tatum Riley's dead. Tatum Evans. So let's get into the story. So Jonathan Majors continues to attempt a comeback since his fallout in 2023, where he was convicted of assault and harassment. Majors was slated to star in Wait, is it Martin Villeneuve? There's a Martin Villeneuve? I thought it was Denis, but Denis doing Dune. Martin Villeneuve's Merciless, but that film appears to be stuck in development hell. So what else does he have in the works? One might have thought he could follow the Army Hammer route and star in a Uwe Boll film, which y'all know he's like one of the worst directors alive, and had taken a different direction, albeit one that is likely to raise some eyebrows. Turns out Majors is currently shooting his first movie in 4 years, with cameras rolling this week in South Carolina on an untitled action film being produced by Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire. Kyle Rankin, who, as I mentioned, directed Run Hot Fight, is directed from his own screenplay. What is known is that the story draws inspiration from 80s and 90s action films like Red Dawn and Toy Soldiers, both of which, coincidentally or not, centered on groups of teenage boys united to fight off invading forces. So we're going to go into this whole propaganda thing where we're playing into the whole 80s and 90s action movies, which I did hear that Paramount is trying to move in that now that the Ellisons is behind Paramount. That's kind of like the direction they want to move with a lot of their IPs as well. But we already know the type of man that whiny voice having ass Ben Shapiro, Ben Nasally Shapiro, the one who can't even get his wife's coochie to get wet. Um, what propaganda he likes to spew. So we already know what that movie's gonna give. But I do find it funny that the Daily Wire is basically a studio that is known to basically give opportunities to actors who have been canceled or backlash or receive backlash for things that they've done in their life. Because Army Hammer started a movie that they did that was produced by Daily Wire. Also, Gina Carano, Vincent Gallo, and Roseanne Barr. The most successful theatrical release was the Matt Walsh's documentary "Am I Racist?" A mockumentary that satirizes DEI, which earned $12 million domestically. Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that movie, and I just side-eyed it the whole damn time. Now, here's the thing: I kind of feel this is the bed he decided to make, so you're gonna have to lie in it. Because I'm just like, but I also kind of wish that people would have just forgiven Jonathan Majors and given him a chance. Because to be honest, I felt like he's done the work. He went to and got his therapy. He went and did the community service. He atoned for his sins and all the other stuff. And isn't that what we want? We want people to have an opportunity to work on themselves and actually attempt to make a comeback. It's kind of the same thing I was saying before in the previous story when we talked about Max Landis, who is making a comeback, and he wrote, Chronicle, and he came on board and is writing a GI Joe movie. He's developing a GI Joe script for Paramount, and people are up in here getting all upset over it because, well, he me too, and he abused women. It's like, but what makes you think he didn't take the time to do the work? Is because he didn't do like some big song and dance or put together a little thing where you could realize, like, I'm actually out here. I don't need to announce that I'm doing the work. I'm actually doing the work. So give people a chance. And I feel like he's done the work. All them other people, Roseanne's piece of shit. Vincent Gallo, I don't really follow him enough to know what's going on with him. Gina Carano is like her next son is trying to fight Ronda Rousey. With from what's his name? Jake Paul's company or whatever the case is. They're supposed to be sponsoring that. So there's far more problematic people out here. But I always thought like he did the work, but maybe people don't believe it. So maybe that's why. But I kind of feel like, damn, maybe somebody would have given him an opportunity if he would have held out a little longer. But then again, like I was saying, like, people got bills. He's married to Megan Good. When the last time she worked? I mean, Harlem been canceled. We ain't seen her nothing since. So, and you already know it's even hard. It's even slimmer pickings. Like, other people, I guess maybe this is the best he could do, and maybe they're paying a shit ton of money because, um, there's not a lot of opportunities for black actors out here. He's not a white dude, even though you was fucking a white woman. I think a lot of times y'all forget that just because you laying down with a black woman don't necessarily mean you can get away with the same things. I mean, a white woman, that you can get away with the same things that white people get away with because you're in an interracial relationship. People will always remind you a ninja at the end of the day. Exhibit A, when we was talking about um the BAFTAs. But we don't get into that because I got some things to say on the whole BAFTAs thing, and Delroy Lindo recently speaking out on that at the NAACP Image Awards. We get around to that topic. because I have a different perspective now, especially with the guy with Tourette's, or more understanding, I should say. So, it sucks that he has to stoop this low in order to get a check because Hollywood decided to blacklist him because of this little incident. It's like, okay, he got his lashings, he did his penance, and I feel like if people get mad about it, the studio should have the back of the actors and get out there and say, you know what? He did the work. He paid his dues. Y'all want people to just be, to live with that constant, reminder for the rest of their life? To me, I just feel like you get off on the abuse. You're a contributor to it. If you're not willing to forgive people who have done the work on getting better. Now, if you go around slapping Megan Good, then it's like, okay, you a lost damn cause. Because y'all out here giving Shia LaBeouf many a chances, and he's been doing far more crazier shit. But y'all keep giving him chances. See, I like to move the goalposts when it comes to these situations. So yeah, so that's what we are. Unfortunately, I remember they said Michael B. Jordan was supposed to have Jonathan Majors in the next Creed movie, but if Hollywood puts pressure on him, I don't even think it's gonna happen. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding Jonathan Majors doing a movie for Ben Shapiro's company? Do you think it's a smart move, or do you understand why he's doing what he's doing? Because it's like, yeah, Hollywood's not going to give him an opportunity to make movies and do what he loves, which is to act. And the only way that I can get roles is from this conservative moron. So I got to bend the knee a little bit and bite my tongue, really bite my tongue, just because they pay way better than Hollywood was paying me, even though they're using you. Because you already know the type of agenda that someone like a Ben Shapiro goes for in regards to cancel culture and wokeness and all that mess. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. Oh, excuse me. Hold on, I need to drink something before we get into the rest of the show. All right, y'all. So now let's get into our next topic, and let's talk about the NAACP Image Awards. Now we're not gonna go through all of them because it's way too many awards. They were like having. It seemed like they had it was a week of just giving out awards. I was like, damn, y'all award show is a lot longer. I think longer than the Grammys. But look, we got to celebrate Black excellence out here because, like I said, while y'all busy always running over there to them BAFTAs and the Oscars and all this stuff, Black people need to show up and show out for our shit because we got to show at the end of the day that we are here for our people. But I will say this: it's been a lot of awards this weekend. The Actor Awards, which formerly the SAG Awards, now called the Actor Awards, that I believe is currently airing on Netflix. Yesterday was the Brits. So I didn't get to watch a lot of the performances. I did save them on my YouTube queue. I know Rosalia performed, brought out Bjork. Say that 10 times fast. Bjork looked fabulous. I love the outfit she had on with that. And I mean, during that performance of Rosalia. And also, Harry Styles performed his new song Aperture, had choreography and everything. So, and then I saw a Somber perform. I know YouTube was doing like a live stream on a loop of the Brits. So I know if you look for it on there, they're probably still playing it if you need to catch it and catch all the little things. That's also when we saw the Osbourne, mother and daughter, Kelly Osbourne and Sharon, look like they deteriorating in real time on the red carpet. Literally was giving us what's that show that's on that show with Ashton Kutcher? That's on Hulu. Forgot the name of it. The beauty. They were definitely giving the beauty tease. It's like the side effects of the beauty literally is occurring on Sharon and Kelly Osbourne. But nevertheless, so there's a lot of award shows happening. The NAACP Awards is the latest to happen. So shout out to all of them over there. Let's get into some of the stuff because Michael Bakari Jordan is having the time of his life. And who knows? Maybe he won't rack up a lot, or them and Sinners may not rack up a lot of awards tonight at the Actor Awards, or later in a couple of what is it like next week or the following week, when the Oscars happen. But if that's the case, at least the NAACP Awards acknowledges Black excellence. So Let's get into some of the winners. So Sinners dominated the 57th annual NAACP Image Awards on Saturday, taking home awards for Outstanding Motion Picture, Actor, which went to Michael B. Jordan, and Breakthrough Performance, Miles Catton, during the televised portion of the ceremony. Ryan Coogler's blockbuster vampire thriller won 10 awards before the telecast began for writing, directing, supporting actor, which went to Delroy Lindo, supporting actress, Wunmi Mosaku, stunt ensemble, cinematography, soundtrack score, costume design, and ensemble cast. The telecast, hosted by Dion Cole, capped the NAACP's week-long celebration of Black excellence with awards presented in more than 90 categories across film, television, and streaming music, literature, and podcasts. Center star Jordan, who won both Entertainer of the Year and Outstanding Actor in a Motion Picture, dedicated his lead actor trophy to his Black Panther co-star Chadwick Boseman, who died at age 43 in 2020. Saying, quote, I was thinking about what lead actor meant to me, and honestly, I got to dedicate this award to Chadwick Boseman. As my brother, our time on this planet is short. I was watching the In Memoriam and seeing how fast these careers go by and people's lives go by and what we do while we're here on Earth. And I just want to be here and be present with you guys as much as possible. And isn't that a word? Because I always said that too. All throughout my life, I've spent a lot of it, like particularly my 20s and 30s, just getting by and going through life. And you don't realize, like, when you look back on it now, which I think is why I think once you hit your 40s, I always say nostalgia plays a major role in your life, where that's the time you start looking back on the halfway point of your life. Because once you hit 50, bitch, then you like half a century old. So I was like, damn, where did the time go? And you start to look back on things in your life, and it's like, you know what? Now at this point in my life, I want to be present. I want to be in the moment. I don't want to just be, you know, going through the motions and things just go by, and then all of a sudden you're like, where did the time go? So you don't want to get to that point. So Davis, the recipient of this year's Chairman Award, said in the acceptance speech, I like to oh wait, they had they were saying, wait, who's but it's about the chairman's award. We don't care about that because we don't know who that is. Well, I did mention who it was. Oh wait, it's Viola Davis. My bad. Because I was like, wait, who's Davis? Because I didn't read the line above. So they said at the ceremony, special honors were presented to Viola Davis, Coleman Domingo, Salt and Pepper, and Spinderella. Samuel L. Jackson also led a powerful tribute to the late civil rights leader Jesse Jackson. That's your brother? No, no. It's just because they got the last name Jackson on. That's I mean they related. Davis, the recipient of this year's Chairman Award, said in her acceptance speech, she said, I like this quote that the definition of hell is on your last day on earth, the person you became meets the person that you could have become. I say that about our nation. I say that about myself, that there is no becoming until you face the depth of the darkness of your own soul. There is no becoming without healing and without a radical acceptance of one's truth. Well, child, Trump ain't ready for that one because that's gonna be a lot he facing. So, yeah, goes through a lot of the outstanding actors and stuff we already gave. Oh, Cynthia Erivo won outstanding actress in a motion picture. Outstanding actress in a comedy series went to Quinta Brunson. Any relation to Jalen? Outstanding actress in a drama series went to Angela Bassett for 911. Outstanding actor in a drama series, Sterling K. Brown for Paradise, which just started its season 2. So yeah, it was a lot of wins and stuff for those people. So shout out to them. And now I don't want to go through the whole list, but what I do want to get to before we get up out of this topic is Delroy Lindo spoke out about what had happened over there at the BAFTAs on, at the NAACP Image Awards. So he thanked everyone for their support following last week's incident at the BAFTAs when audience member with Tourette's shouted a racial slur. It didn't take long for the NAACP Image Awards to show center stars Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo some love following an incident at last week's BAFTA Awards. During the international ceremony, the BBC broadcast an outburst from a Tourette's campaigner that included a racial slur, which was uttered while the actors were on stage. While presenting the first award for the NAACP ceremony on Saturday, one battle after another star Regina Hall asked the audience to take a moment for the two kings who are in this audience, gesturing towards Jordan and Lindo seated inside the Pasadena Civic Auditorium where the award ceremony is being held. I just send you so much love for your class, Hall told the actors while the well heeled crowd jumped to their feet to salute them. The BAFTA incident has dominated headlines as reps for BAFTA and John Davison, the Tourette's syndrome campaigner, issued statements and apologies. Now, in an exclusive interview with Variety, Davison said he felt a wave of shame in the moment he realized the crowd could hear his involuntary tics and questioned why he was seated so close to a microphone. Oh, that was another thing that I wanted to bring up too. So I was going in on John Davison because I think it was from a place of, a lot of times when you're a person of color and you are prone and used to hearing a lot of involuntary slurs coming from just regular schmegular people where they have no problem if you're gay calling you the F slur, if you're a black person calling them the N word slur, or if you're a woman calling them the B word. So when you have all these little things where you come from a situation where you're used to hearing these things, it's an automatic trigger, and that comes with a lot of trauma and a lot of pain and a lot of backstory and a lot of weight in that situation. So John Davidson with his version of Tourette's, because Jumaane Williams, who is a someone who's a political um person in New York, he also has Tourette's. And how I got my education on it was from him when he went and Ebro and them over there, Ebro, Laura Rosenberg, one of the days last week. I'm sure you can look it up on social media if you want to get yourself a little more educated on the matter. He came on and he broke it down in regards of the whole thing and what he was going through in different levels and the harm reduction and different things that methods you could use that people go through when they have their type of tics and what works for them. One guy said wears headphones to like noise canceling headphones. Another one, the way he would deal with his tics, he has a specific book that he always carries with him, throws it on the floor, and that kind of like helps with the tick because he says if you suppress it, what happens is it's gonna come out eventually, but it'll come out in a situation where it's far worse. And so I'm looking at this whole situation that y'all try to cover y'all ass by talking about, well, we have to be more whatever, that stupid little teleprompter speech that uh Alan Cumming gave, so that way BAFTAs could cover their ass. But we saw it through the bullshit. This is all on the BAFTAs and BBC because you could have taken out the word. You took out everything else, but you didn't take out the word. Also, you sat him next to a microphone so that way it would pick it up so that way it can cause drama. Because look, a week later, who talks about the BAFTAs regularly? Nobody does. Nobody cares about that dry ass award show. So y'all set John Davison up and you set up Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. So shame on y'all, tired asses over there. Now y'all need to colored folk, black people, y'all need to boycott them. So I understand where it was coming. It's like, yeah, why'd y'all set me next to my because you wanted to get picked up. Hold on, because I was gonna say where else did I read I was trying to see if I read his comment or whatever the case is. I don't think I did. Because I know they was talking about like how powerful it is to be in the room and all the other stuff. And and then Michael B. Jordan said, I love being black, raising a trophy triumphantly. Because it was saying like and I guess what they were talking about, because Ryan Coogler and all of them was there. Oh yeah. So announced it said a room where being fully seen is not rare. It is expected. Lindo chimed in as the two began to trade lines of the presenter's copy. And that matters because so much of what we do on screen and behind the scenes is about fighting to be understood. This is what Kugler said, as Lindo added, to be layered, complex, to be human. And that's what I hope that, because we got all these people like the Ellisons and stuff trying to take over our media. That's all we want. We want to show that we are human, we're complex, we're multi-layered beings. And so this little game that they try to play over there, y'all tried it, and now y'all got egg on y'all face. So shout out to y'all. And I love the fact that we have people like Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo, and Ryan Coogler showing up for the community and not just being like, no, we only because we being accepted by the white folks. Let's go over there and get those awards. the Black Show Awards is just as important as them other ones. And I feel like we need more people to show up and show out and show support for our stuff and stop always looking for them over there to give y'all some type of acknowledgement and accolades. So that's the latest on this whole situation. I hope we can put this behind us, but fuck the BAFTAs and fuck BBC because y'all are a mess. You're tired, you're late, you're delayed, you're a mess. And it's sad that you decided to use a disabled person in his situation as a way to gain ratings or whatever the case is on, the backs of two black actors getting hurt in the process for whatever stunt y'all was trying to pull over there. So I say all this to say, did you see the NAACP awards? What'd you think? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. Dion Cole getting death threats from the bar. No, oh yeah, because he did make jokes about Nicki Minaj. Fuck her tired ass fans. A South Park writer set up a website to deploy Baron. Well, everybody was saying that. It was like, look, a lot of you people out here killing people's kids. Why don't y'all go and put your kids up to be going to fight in this war that y'all want so bad? And to me, Nikki is corny if her big wide back ass gotta sue somebody because they made jokes about her. All right, y'all. So now let's move on to our next topic. And let's talk about the legendary Gina Gershon, who has a new book coming out. And I actually like the title. It's called Alpha Pussy. That's like the best I think that's the best title since Peaches Impeach My Bush. So she actually was spilling some tea. She spilled tea about speaking of that a vagina scene that Paul Verhoeven was pushing for her to do in Showgirls. We'll get into that in a moment. But the most interesting stuff that I thought that she talked about was her relationship with Prince Rogers Nelson, aka Prince. So she was actually supposed to be in Purple Rain. I believe the part that eventually went to Apollonia, but she turned it down because she said she don't like being controlled. And if you know anything about Prince, Prince always wanted to control everyone and everything in his orbit. So she just said while she said that the film wasn't right fit for her, she told Prince she was in a play at NYU and needed to return to school. So in her new memoir, Alpha Pussy, the actress recounts how she survived growing up in California's San Fernando Valley, in the 70s and 80s, right smack in the middle of the explosion, of corn, and went on to thrive in Hollywood on her own terms. Gershon, whose credits include Face Off, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Sidebar, Susie Essman, and oh my God, what's his name? The one that created Curb Your Enthusiasm. They were at the Nick game, but they're usually always there. So yeah, she was in Curb Your Enthusiasm, Riverdale, and Rescue Me, rights of dodging pervs on the street and at the Playboy Mansion in her youth, and then standing up for herself as she came up in the entertainment industry, even when it meant refusing to work with Prince and locking horns with famous directors. Saying, quote, it's like a collection of my personal stories about navigating toxic situations and difficult people and maintaining my sovereignty. This is what she told Page Six in an exclusive interview. Not everyone was unpleasant. Gershon remembers brief but positive encounter with a range of A-listers, including Bruce Willis, who tended bar at the cafe she worked at in college and made her friend feel threatened with his charm and swagger. Bob Dylan, who she boxed with at the gym, and Sharon Stone, who advised her to lie about her age. However, filming with director Paul Verhoeven, well, I can tell you firsthand, Bruce Willis is a nice guy. I've met him twice, and um, they're generally a nice. I mean, it's unfortunate the way his health, where he is now health wise, but when he was able, nice guy. Well, based on my encounters. However, filming with director Paul Verhoeven in 1995, Showgirls, which I call the Citizen Kane of sex and nudity. in a NC-17 rated film. A massive flop in its time that has since become a beloved camp classic was very challenging. Saying it was a constant psychological tug of war between Paul, co-star Elizabeth Berkley, and me. Paul was infamous for fighting with his stars, and lucky me, I guess I was his chosen sparring partner on Showgirls, writes Gershon, who played the stripper Crystal Connors. They ain't say her last name, but I love that damn movie. Crystal Connors. Now, one day, the director not sauntered, child, into her trailer. In today's scene, I think it would be good if you showed your vagina, he declared, noting that Berkeley would be doing so and that Sharon Stone had done so on his last film, Basic Instinct, in an infamous scene. Gershon wasn't looking to fight, but she wasn't up for bearing all and wasn't so and doing so wasn't in her contract. She took a moment, came up with a plan, and then had a sit down with Verhoeven. She said, I totally understand that you want to what you want to do with this shot. And truth be told, we've seen it. As you already pointed out, we've seen Sharon's vagina. And we will see Elizabeth's vagina. She told him diplomatically, as she recalls in the book. So I was thinking, well, just imagine this. It's dark. We don't know where we are. It's murky, then pink, then kind of fuzzy. Next thing you know, we're in Crystal's dressing room. But wait, how did we get here? We then realize we've been inside of me. We have been inside Crystal's vagina. Well, I'm sorry, let's say it like Laganja. We've been inside Crystal's vagina. Instead of just showing my pussy like Sharon and Elizabeth, let's do the shot from inside my vagina. We can even use a microscopic probe lens. No one has ever seen that before. It's brilliant. Verhoeven was taken aback and said he was unsure if they could execute such a shot. You dumb fuck. She's fucking with you. Like he's so hell bent on trying to see some vagina in a damn movie because Paul Verhoeven was an asshole back in the day, that he don't see the fact that, sir, she's she's pulling your chain, and you're just too damn dumb and obtuse to say it. Well, that's on her, child. I mean, well, no, that's on him. So, he looked at Gershon like she was bonkers, said it was fine for her to just do the scene as originally written, no crotch shot needed, and walked away. So I guess what it was is that you just got to, oh, you say I'm crazy, I'll show you crazy, bitch. So I'm gonna play you on your level. And now she came up with something so insane and crazy. He's like, I don't even know how I'm gonna pull that off. Never mind. Because you think he was gonna intimidate me to show my coochie on some damn camera. Oh no, sir. That ain't me. She said he never mentioned my vagina again. Now, she dodged another sketchy bullet at 15 when she went to a party at the Playboy Mansion with a friend. Another guest hit on her and gave her a tour of the mansion, including the infamous grotto. When he asked if she wanted a dip, Gershon pumped the brakes. I remember looking at him and just laughing, going, I'm only 15. You can get in so much trouble, she told Page Six. Thankfully, he slunk away. By contrast, Gershon writes that Tom Cruise was the eternal gentleman when they starred together in 1998's Cocktail. She was shooting a love scene with him, her first ever, and the script called for them to frolic naked around a hot tub and kiss, which just seemed gratuitous and lame. Gershon suggested something subtler under the covers in bed, and Cruise was game, saying, quote, I couldn't have asked for a more supportive and communicative and trustworthy partner. He even suggested that I turn away so that my breasts weren't on camera just facing him. The beauty had a less positive experience with Prince when she was acting student at New York University. She said one day she received a call from an old friend who was working with the late musician and told Gershon that Prince wants to meet you. He's doing a movie and the lead woman has to be able to sing, dance, and act. I told him about you. Naturally, Gershon was thrilled and hopped on a plane to Minnesota, where she was greeted by a purple stretch limousine with Prince inside. He played her the title song from his upcoming movie, Purple Rain. She was blown away, and the two went somewhere to talk, drink, and dance. Then the musician turned to her and said, I think I'm going to call you Gina, a hard G sound. Or, oh, wait. So is it, well, yeah, G. Is it G? Yeah, G. Because I was like, it can't be Gina. She said, Gina, she responded, try not to laugh, as in Gina Gershon. No, he responded in all seriousness, just Gina. It was all too much for her. She told Prince she didn't want the role, even though it would have been a huge break for her. She said, I don't want to be called Gina for the rest of my life. He told Page Six, adding, it was more than that. I never had someone look at me that way. I felt like if he were like rearranging my molecules, I felt very uncomfortable with it. Now, in the book, she admits that many times I have regretted not working with Prince. I would kill for the chance to have been able to make music with that genius, but I didn't love being controlled, for better or for worse. I listened to my instincts. Yeah, because that makes sense. Because remember, there have been a lot of women who have been named after Prince or whatever, and there's been accusations of control or whatever, particularly Carmen Electra. He named, what was her name? Tara Patrick? Funny enough, I remember that because there's a porn star named Tara Patrick. So yeah, Carmen Electra's government name is Tara Patrick, and she was named after by Prince. So it's like I didn't want to be controlled or named by this person like Vanity or Apollonia and all these other names that she was coming up with. But I think Apollonia's name actually was Apollonia because wasn't it Apollonia Cordero? Now, she said they said that she also trusted her gut after rapping Showgirls. She was sent a new script to read called Bound, which I fucking love that movie. Now, I don't relate to a lot of the lesbian stuff, but that movie, directed and written by the Wachowskis, by the way, before they transitioned. Um, I live for that movie. Gina Gershon and Jennifer Tilly, bitch, and Joey Pants. That was a good one. So the noir thriller featured a romance between two women, and Gershon's agents at the time refused to let her do it. As she had just played a bisexual in Showgirls, they feared another sapphic romance on screen would tank her career. Reluctantly, Gershon fired her agents and signed on for Bound opposite Jennifer Tilly. She's proud to have been a part of the movie, which was one of the first mainstream films to feature a lesbian relationship and love scenes, saying the lesbian community really embraced it because they'd never been represented that way before. It was a big deal, and I felt really proud about that. When people come up and they're like, You really helped. That movie helped me. It helped me realize things. That was icing on the cake. More recently, Gershon was introduced to a new audience when last year she played Bowen Yang's clingy girlfriend on SNL in a skit called Bowen Straight. She said, I'm in love with him. I just adore him. He's a wonderful guy. Yeah, okay. Besides the fact with the whole James Tallarico, Jasmine Crockett situation, whatever. Bowen Yang kind of whatever. But that's not. I'm not here to talk about him, even though she mentioned him. So even though they said she swears Alpha Pussy isn't a self-help book, she still hopes that it's empowering in a way that teaches women to be direct and stand up for themselves. And that's why I think that this book is going to teach it. I think this would be the perfect book for women to get a hold of because it seems like Gina's done a relatively great job navigating herself through this world and being like, you know what? Always trust your gut, trust your instinct. And when your instinct is telling you stranger danger or you shouldn't go and deal with certain people or this is what you do when you get caught up in these situations, she was flying by the seat of her pants, and luckily she was able to just coast her way out of dangerous situations. And so in a way, maybe even though she says it's not, it would be a self-help book for a lot of women who don't really have the strong mind or the skill set to come up with quick things to do to get yourself out of bad situations. So as I said before, I love me some Gina Gershon, always been a fan of hers. Like she definitely was a lot of stuff that I loved in the 90s and the 2000s. And I like that, she was able to come out and have the career that she has and she's writing a book to help people in better situations. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Because, like I said before, Showgirls, one of my all-time favorite movies. I know people look at me like I'm crazy with that, but it's like when you like campy stuff, that would be one of the movies that's at the top of my list. So yeah, I definitely want to hear from y'all regarding this whole um situation because I'm like, damn, you turned down Prince, but if Prince was out here being a twat, I would have turned him down to us. Sir. Just because you could be a genius, but geniuses are usually, I mean, for the most part, could be assholes or asshole-ish. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. Plus O'Connor Scream 7 messaged me, I can't breathe. Chloe had an iconic death scene being thrown into the tavern's glass. Did she? We say Anna Kim deleted the Scream 7 shade of the boycott. People aren't buying her apology. I would have left that shit up. I was gonna put Ghostface. I was gonna post it on my page and put Ghostface has spoken, but I don't want to get backlash yet. Only because people are like, you put up the spoiler, you're revealing who the killer is. I haven't seen the movie yet. So I'ma wait. Maybe tomorrow I'll post it. But I'm like, I want to give people, 3 days. Y'all got Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come Monday morning, then I'm putting it up. Like, spoiler alert. All right. Hold on. Wait, did I forget to put? Oh wait, no, I do have it in here. Oh yeah, I forgot I did move some stuff around. All right, so now let's move into our next topic. And let's talk about Michael Jackson. Because Michael Jackson is caught out here in yet another lawsuit. The man is can't even rest in peace. And now you have people coming out here accusing him of abuse. So yeah, let's get into that story. Four adult siblings who claim, shout out to Rolling Stone for this story, by the way, who claim Michael Jackson abused them when they were minors have filed a bombshell child sex trafficking lawsuit against the late musician's estate. The new complaint filed Monday in federal court in Los Angeles comes 1 month after the siblings, Frank, Dominic, Marie Nicole, and Aldo Casio, appeared in a Beverly Hills courthouse amid a related effort to avoid a financial settlement with Jackson's estate that they describe as an unlawful agreement to silence victims of childhood SA. Reps for the estate asked the court to order the parties into arbitration, but the judge withheld a final ruling and set a follow-up hearing for March 5th, saying, quote, Michael Jackson was a serial child predator who over the course of more than a decade drugged, R-worded, and S-a'd each of the plaintiffs, beginning when some were as young as 7 or 8. The 23-page lawsuit obtained by Rolling Stone states. The filing alleges that the abuse occurred over extended periods in multiple locations worldwide, including during visits when Jackson and his children stayed at a sibling's family home. The complaint alleges that Jackson groomed and brainwashed the siblings using his wealth, celebrity status, and network of employees and advisors. According to the lawsuit, Michael met the brothers and sister through their father, who worked at a luxury hotel Jackson frequently visited. After gaining the family's trust with gifts, declarations and affection on sustained attention, Jackson allegedly isolated the children from responsible adults, plied them with drugs and alcohol, exposed them to pornography, and then abused them individually. Well, I say adult cinematography. The lawsuit is a desperate money grab by additional members of the Casio family who have hopped on the bandwagon with their brother Frank, who was already being sued for arbitration for civil extortion. The family staunchly defended Michael Jackson for more than 25 years, attending to his innocence of inappropriate conduct. Martin Singer, a lawyer for Jackson's estate, said in a statement to Rolling Stone, the new court filing is a transparent form shopping tactic in their scheme to obtain hundreds of millions of dollars from Michael's estate and companies. Now, according to the new suit, Jackson S.A.'d Edward during interstate and international travel, including stops connected to the Dangerous World Tour, visits to Elizabeth Taylor's home in Switzerland, and Elton John's residence in the UK, and at his Neverland Ranch in Santa Barbara County. Well, if all these things allegedly happened, and I'm not shaming this guy like they're lying. I don't know. I wasn't there. But if this was all happening, was Elizabeth Taylor there and was Elton John there? I mean, Elizabeth can't defend herself. Michael can't defend himself. And I don't even know at Elton's big age if he even remembers something like this happening because he's ill as well. He's not in the best of health. Now, Dominic claims he was abused in Florida, New Jersey, New York, France, and South America including during the History World Tour, at Neverland Ranch, and at the Casio family's New Jersey home. Aldo contends He was assaulted during international trips at Neverland Ranch in New York, at the family residence, and at video shoots and recording sessions. Marie Nicole claims she was assaulted during similar travel, including at Neverland Ranch, at the family home, and in New York, Vegas, and Florida. The filing also claims Jackson attempted an assault on Marie Nicole in Bahrain. The Cosio family previously referred to themselves as Jackson's second family in media interviews. They were among his defenders during his criminal trial, which ended with a acquittal on charges of child SA in 2005. Jackson did settle a different civil claim in 94 while maintaining his innocence. After Jackson's death in 2009, Wade Robson, a choreographer and director, and James Sapechuk, a writer, actor, director, stepped forward with claims Jackson M-worded them in the 80s and 90s, sometimes during overnight stays at Neverland Ranch. They detailed these allegations in their 2019 documentary, Leaving Neverland. Excuse me. According to the Casio siblings, the documentary led them to reckon with and share their experiences as well. Speaking in court last month, Singer said reps for Jackson's estate categorically dispute the singer's accusations. He claimed the allegations were linked to an extortion demand of $213 million last summer. In his statement issued Friday, Singer and the siblings saw the estate find success growing and threatened to go public with heinous accusations that completely contradicted their previous statement defending Michael unless his estate paid staggering sums of money. Now they're saying in the new lawsuit, signed by lawyer Howard King on behalf of the siblings, includes claims for child trafficking, negligence, international infliction of emotional distress, breach of contract, negligent hearing, and fraud. It's seeking a trial to determine compensatory and punitive damages. So I don't even know how we even begin to tackle this, but I guess this is up to the court of law and the attorneys and stuff to decide on what's what. But I was saying this before, like, how are you suing somebody from beyond the grave? Like, the man is not here to defend himself; he's dead. Um, do I believe that Michael could have been capable of abusing children? I don't know. I just don't feel in my heart of hearts that I get that from him. And Macaulay Culkin has come out and said that he's never done anything to him. There's been so many people that said that. I did at one point. Wade Robson said that he was never abused by Michael. And then all of a sudden, he did this documentary. Corey Feldman has said that he and still doing a lawsuit against him. Corey Feldman has said that Michael has never touched him, and he's opened his mouth about a lot of abusive situations that has happened in Hollywood against him. He said Michael never touched him. So I do feel like ever since that whole situation that happened, where they paid an undisclosed sum to make it go away to that kid in '93, that there's been vultures out here that takes Michael's kindness for weakness, and people are looking at it as I'm gonna use my kid, make him lie about abuse or whatever the case is, as a money grab because the media was brutal to Michael back in the day, Wacko Jacko and all that mess. Which in so many ways he did feed into the weirdness because I guess it made it more interesting and more mysterious. But then when the sexual assault allegations started coming around, that's when things got a little crazy. So I guess in the meantime, I mean, I don't know what else to add on this, but to say that I'll just have to keep abreast of the story as it develops, and we'll just see where the chips fall. May the chips fall where they may, or whatever. I guess is how you say it. Because it's like, how do you address this whole situation? I just guess they just gonna have to figure out how to work all this out in court. But I will definitely keep this story, abreast of the story as it develops, because I just can't see this going to trial and this family getting any kind of money out of this situation, especially when Michael is not here to defend himself. So it's TBD, I guess is what we could say, to be determined. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story on Michael and this whole situation? Do you even believe these allegations, or that Michael could be capable of certain things? I guess you will be surprised what people are capable of these days, but I don't know. I just don't see it. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. That's another thing too. Is like we got the biopic coming, so it makes sense that okay, here people coming out of the woodwork, and they might think that oh, we want a piece of the money from the upcoming, the biopic. So they're going after everything. The estate has, been making money off of Michael's likeness because, and that's how that was what they had to do to get out of the debt that he was in before, when he died. So making the Michael Jackson musical and licensing out his songs to commercials and all the other things that they were doing, it helped pay off those debts. Plus the upcoming movie. When does that come out? Is that in the summer? I thought it was this month actually that the Michael movie was coming out. I don't know. I gotta look it up. All right, y'all. So now let's go and let's talk about Shia LaBeouf. So Shia LaBeouf recently did an interview with who was it he did it with? Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan, which was posted on his YouTube channel on February 28th, which was yesterday because we're in March Madness, which I'm looking forward to because I'm going to be doing a lot of mad March shit work wise. So, yeah, Shia did a recent interview and he said, because remember, there was a story that came out that he was forced to go to rehab after the whole incident that happened, or whatever case was. Said that he has a Napoleon complex, that he was, I guess, scared of the gay people that beat his ass, or whatever the case, because somebody touched his leg. He was saying all kinds of crazy shit. But in the interview, and this is exactly what he was wearing in the interview, and when he said Napoleon complex, I'm like, how tall is? Hold on, let me look it up. How tall is not Ashton Kutcher. He's 5'9". 5'9" is not short. I mean, it's a little above average. I mean, it's around average height, above a little slightly above average. I think average is like what, 5'7", 5'8". I'm 5'10". So he's 5'9". So he's like an inch shorter than me. So it's not that short though. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, I guess. But you said Napoleon complex. So um, but yeah, he said that he's not going to rehab because he don't have a drinking problem. They tried to make me go to rehab, but I said no, no, no. The 39-year-old actor sat down for an interview with Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan, posted on YouTube. During the discussion, LaBeouf said that while he doesn't condone the personal behavior that led to his February 17th arrest in Nolans during a Mardi Gras celebration, he also doesn't believe that rehab is the answer for him. He said, "My behavior was bullshit. I got to deal with that. Does that mean I got to go to rehab again? I'm just not into it. I don't think my answers are there. I just don't. I genuinely don't. If I genuinely did, I'd go." The Transformer star went on to say that he thinks the problems are much rooted in anger issues than alcohol. He said, "I don't think I have a drinking problem. I think I have a different problem, and I'm going to address it. I think I have a small man complex." We talking about your dick? Because you can't be talking about your height. He said, "I think in something that has to do with anger and ego more than my drinking. That's where I'm now with my journey, and I'm trying to navigate it. I'll figure it out." Now, earlier in the conversation, the actor shared that he has not been sober in about 9 months and also said that the incident that led to New Orleans arrest was on him. So I'm glad you're self-aware. I'm glad you're saying, yeah, it was on me. I messed up. But I'm dealing with some stuff, and I feel like if you realize it's anger that is the root, then start from there. Because you know what they say with rehab, thing to the first step in rehab is admitting you have a problem. He's not there. So he doesn't think that going to rehab, because he did it before and clearly it didn't. I mean, I guess it maybe worked a little while, but he said, "Oh no, it's different. Maybe he likes drinking." And he's not a great drunk, he's an angry drunk, clearly, from what we saw. So maybe he needs to take a different approach and figure out what he needs to do. Because if you have anger issues, then they have anger management programs or work with a counselor, somebody that can help you navigate through all that. Because look, growing up, I was an angry guy as well. I was dealing with a lot of stuff in my past that I didn't want to face, a lot of anger, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. And then I don't know how it happened, but I just think I just got to a point in my life where it was just like, I'm just sick and tired of being angry at the world or being angry at this person or being pissed off about this. And I didn't want to, because that shit ages you. And if you look at them recent pictures of Shia is 39 years old. He looked like 10 years was added on his life. And I don't know if it's because he white and a lot of white folks, not all of them, y'all, a lot of y'all age like old spoiled rotten milk. And a lot of y'all, because I ain't got that melanin up in your situation. So when drinking definitely ages you, which is why I don't drink a lot and I don't smoke a lot. Well, I'll occasional I'll have a drink or whatever the case is. I'm not big on the smoking, whatever. So all of that ages you, and it's not good on your skin because alcohol dehydrates the skin, and I'm very much someone who's a big water drinker. So yeah, so for those of you who need a refresher, he was taken into custody on February 17th on 2 counts of misdemeanor battery, following an alleged altercation at the Royal Street Inn in R Bar. Initial police report obtained states that one victim was struck in his face and with a closed fist, causing the nose to possibly dislocate, and said he pushed his nose back into place himself. Oh no, go get that check, child. The report further alleges that Shia used the word rhymes with maggot, but the F is in front of it multiple times. The actor was ultimately ordered to enroll in substance abuse treatment, undergo drug testing, and post 100 grand in bond as conditions of his release. So if this was your condition and you don't follow through, what happens? I mean, if it's involuntary, doesn't that mean that you're forcing him to go to rehab? And if he doesn't comply, what does that mean? You're gonna hold him and throw him in jail? Like, I just don't understand because he's saying he don't think he's got a problem. So what happens now? But they did put out a warrant for his arrest again on February 27th. They said the actor surrendered himself to authorities on Saturday prior to a bail hearing. He posted a bond of $5,000 and was released from police custody per The Guardian. Because the Guardian would definitely be breaking this story down. Because I remember even when I was coming on to talk about a Shia LaBeouf story, what happened was, I had accidentally come across a story about him getting into like he was using derogatory slurs towards a drag queen and his friend. So he was using homophobic slurs. And I came across that. That was how I found out about it. Because the Guardian did that story. So shout out to them because I think they're independent media. And so, like I said, the only way he's going to get the help is if he's willing to take that step and work on himself. But if he's not willing to do it, then what can you do? Sometimes, unfortunately, like I said, when it comes to addiction or any kind of rehabilitation or whatever issues you're dealing with, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. And if he's not ready to come to terms with whatever issue that he needs to face, then what can you do? Sometimes you just got to watch your loved ones fucking crash out and deteriorate in real time. And it's like, I love you, but I can't partake in the shenanigans. So good luck to you, Shia. I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story regarding this whole topic? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. I'm a different looking kind of okay, whatever that means. Your moderator is still here. I blocked that guy. The site I used to post my fan fiction on crashed right as I was about to publish a new. Wait, which guy you blocked? You say your moderator is still here. I blocked that guy. The site I used to post my fan fiction on crashed right as I was about to put. Oh, that's crazy. Because it's like, so did you lose everything? They don't want people drinking, make alcohol need a license like weed. Right. Well, I guess with the history of prohibition and all this stuff, like alcohol is easily accessible. But it's like you're at a certain age, you're supposed to be able to drink. Shia's pushing 40, so he's old enough to drink. I mean, it's not like he's a kid. Oh, 10K. That's what I gotta start doing. I gotta start writing again. Yeah, that's what I always say. Like, you should always keep a backup just in case, because if you put all your eggs in one basket and you don't have like a flash drive or whatever to um have all your information, That's always the worst. All right. Anyway, let's move on and get back into the show. Let me see how many more topics we got. Oh, all right. We down to our final four topics. So before we get to our final four, if you could please do me a solid, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure to smash the notification bell so that we, when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. Also, we have memberships. So if you want to sign up for the memberships, you can definitely do that. But also, if you don't want to put any coins up in the show, if you don't have any money, whatever the case is, I ain't trying to beg y'all for your coins or whatever the case is. But if anything, definitely hit that like and subscribe and smash the notification. It helps out with the algorithm and all that good stuff. So without further ado, without saying all of that, let's get back into our topics. And let's talk about Miss Alicia Moore, aka Pink, or is she going by Alicia Carey? Alicia Hart. Alicia Hart. That's not a good drag name. Anyway, so word on the street is that she and Carey Hart are separating because I can't believe they've been married for 20 years. Where the hell did the time go? So there was a story that came out, I believe People Magazine said it, and it was another one. I think it was Us Weekly, TMZ, but I think it was mostly People and TMZ came out with the T. And so Pink basically took to social media and was like, I don't know who told you all that, but Carrie and I are not breaking up. So cut it out. And so let's get into the story. So Pink, who's a three-time Grammy-winning artist and one of the boldest voices of the 21st century, has plenty of topics the press can mull over that don't involve her marital status. On Thursday, February 26th, the singer-songwriter took to Instagram to address rumors that she had split from her husband, former motocross racer Carey Hart, saying, "So I was just alerted to the fact that I'm separated from my husband. I don't know. Thank you, People Magazine." Thank you, Us Weekly. Thank you for letting me know. I was wondering if you'd also like to tell our children, my 14-year-old and my 9-year-old are also unaware. Leave it to a Virgo to come with the sarcastic commentary. As an alternative to the fuss over her personal life, Pink pointed to more pressing matters. Or do you want to talk about some real news? Do you want to talk about the Epstein files? Do you want to talk about systemic racism or misogyny in sports? Or how classy the women's hockey team is? Or how 8 of the 12 medals won in the Olympics this year for the U.S. were won by women? Sidebar, shout out to the women's hockey team who was just over there with Connor's story at, what was it, SNL? Because he hosted over the weekend. So, Pink, who has been nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we did talk about that the other day, also proposed, or do you want to talk about the fact that I got nominated the first year I was eligible for the Rock and Roll motherfucking Hall of Fame? Do you want to talk about my accomplishments, or do you want to talk about my supposed demise? After shutting down the relationship rumors as fake news, she said, "Trash news, you can do better." Well, is that what we call them TMZ? Because they are trash over there, including Harvey. The star has been nominated alongside Phil Collins, Lauryn Hill, Mariah Carey, Oasis, Pink, The Black Crowes. Wait, why would they put Pink in here? I guess they probably like copy and pasted their own thing because Pink is Pink. So you put her name in there. But anyway, that's me Virgoing, the Virgoing. The Black Crowes, Jeff Buckley, Melissa Etheridge, Billy Idol, In Excess, Iron Maiden, Joy Division / New Order, New Edition, Sade, Shakira, Luther Vandross, and the Wu-Tang Clan. Inductees will be announced in April, and the annual ceremony will take place in the fall. So look, and basically what she said in regards to the news, she said this nomination isn't mine, it's ours. It's for every one of us who felt like an outsider or underdog and found something in the music that made them feel less alone. I saw another thing where there was, I don't know if it was a YouTube video or something, or just a random article where they was coming out talking about Pink. She's not she's not this rebel riot girl type, whatever punk, a girl that she tried to make herself out to be. They were trying to make her like she was a mean girl, like she had started with Christina Aguilera. No, Christina was a bitch. Christina was a known diva going around trying to act like her shit didn't stink. And like a typical Virgo, a real Virgo, not a lot of these girls would just be look or those of us who just look at a situation, we stay silent and then we just let it rock. It's like, no, we up in there, we collecting evidence. And then when you try me, then we just go and pull out all the receipts that we have for the past 6 months that we've been rocking with each other. And I got it from the date of the beginning on to down. And then they always gag because we always come with a receipt. So when Pink checked her ass, that's when it was a problem. Now she's a bully. Now she's that, no, I'm checking the bitch because I don't tolerate bullies. And so that's what she was given. So, um, congratulations, Pink, on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nomination. And also, I'm glad that this story isn't true because there was rumors going around that I guess while Pink was on tour, that Carey was out here cheating on her. That was something they were floating around saying that was what's going on, but she says it's not true. Now, to another thing we should address because I was like, let's lump it all in one thing. Pink is supposed to be, but tomorrow will be the official start of her week hosting, um, filling in for Kelly Clarkson over on her show because she lives in New York. And they were saying that, oh yeah, we were seeing Pink out and about in New York. She went and bought breakfast, whatever. Probably went to a deli and ordered like something. Because at the end of the day, Pink is a Philly girl, so she's like 2 hours away where she grew up, 2 hours away from New York. So she's an East Coast girl through and through. But um for the because I forgot she does have a vineyard. Because I think what happened was when I think was it 60 Minutes? 60 Minutes did an interview with her a couple of years back where she was on a vineyard and she was talking about what was going on, how she was living and all that other stuff. And I guess she's making wine and all that other mess. So yeah, she spent a lot of time in the city over the summer and appears to be back on the scene. They said, according to Page Six, I saw her at a Soho House. Yes, I saw her at Soho House yesterday with a guy who seemed to be part of Team, said a Page Six spy who's a member of the Meatpacking District private club. She spent a few hours reading paperwork and documents on a computer. They added that she was wearing a head wrap and sweats and looked beautiful. Yesterday, first people and then US. Okay, we already went through that. We don't need to go about the whole split situation where she denied it. Um, but yeah, Carey and she has been in New York for the past couple of weeks, and they're also saying that she's running to take the reins recently given by Clarkson. So yeah, there's been stories going around and saying like she's going to be, this is a trial run. If things go well, she will permanently fill in the slot of the Kelly Clarkson show once Kelly officially leaves. Then it'll become the Pink show. Well, Pink done addressed this and said this is not true. She said, I'm only filling in for the week and that's it. So who knows? Maybe there's a situation. Maybe it is a trial run. They want to see how she is, and they'll offer it to her because this slot has been a thing where they find like the most high profile people. I think since the days of Ellen, because Ellen had that slot and was dominating at that time slot, and then they put Kelly in that spot, and now they're trying to find, I guess, the next big thing that can keep that thing going. But if this is true, are we at a point where we're tired of singers becoming personalities now or hosting their own talk shows? Because if it didn't work with Kelly, and y'all kind of, and Kelly kind of quit because of what's going on in her personal life. And then the whole way that people are watching talk shows, they're too expensive. I just had an article sent to me about the podcast shift that's happening with I guess you can make from like 10K to 100K in regards of content and all this other stuff that's been going on. So yeah, the Hollywood Reporter did this big article on podcasting that I thought was relatively interesting. And I like Pink. She has a great personality. She has a great voice. She has an infectious laugh. She doesn't take herself seriously. She knows how to poke fun at herself. And doing the talk show would be an interesting gig, but I don't know if that would be something that she'd be interested in doing. I've always said the thing I would love to see Pink do, I would have preferred her to host, not host, to judge American Idol over Carrie Underwears. That's what I would have loved to have seen Kelly Clarkson. I mean, not Kelly. Well, Kelly Clarkson doing the voice, but I would love to see Pink do like a singing competition show. That would have been a much greater move for her. But that doesn't seem like something that she's interested in. And I'm definitely curious to see how she's going to do on the upcoming, during her week of the Kelly Clarkson. So maybe I'll check out clips because I don't think there's any way you could watch a full episode. So I'll just probably watch clips when it pops up on me online and see how she does, depending on the guest that she has. So yeah. So basically, two things she denied. She denied that she's leaving, that her and her husband are splitting up, and she's also denying that she's taking over Kelly Clarkson's show. That last part is TBD because I guess they want to see how she does, and then they'll probably offer it to her, and they'll probably offer her a shit ton of money to move to New York to do the show. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Do you believe anything that Pink had to say? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. I have some things to say about Connor Storm when we get to the heated rivalry topic. Maybe I'll watch the TV show after a while because you realize how fine he is. That's a sexy ass boy. And he said Pink is alternative but still possess mainstream appeal, which not many of alternative artists people have. Her music is fun and edgy. Well, and I think it's because she came up in the MTV era. So she could kind of sell like that whole alternative pop punk vibe, that whole rebel type vibe. She sold that better than like the Avril Lavigne's and all those type of girls. I mean, Avril had her moment, but I was always Pink over Avril. Like you said, her music is fun and edgy. Yeah, so that's why I was like, and it's not that experimental. She just had a lot of fun with what she had. I agree with this statement. Scream 7 is a direct sequel to Scream 4. Part 5 and 6 are canon, but when you think about it, it's a direct sequel to Part 4 in the Sydney storyline. I got to look into that. You said, what do you mean a license to smoke weed? Where I live, you don't need one. Do you need a license to smoke weed? I mean, I know like in New York, when you go to those dispensaries, whatever the case is, you don't need a license. What you need is, well, you got to have like a ID or whatever if you're going in the dispensaries to purchase, you know, weed or whatever the case is. But you don't need a license for that, and I don't think you should need a license to drink. You just got to be you got to be an adult age. Cherry Fill in this line for Wendy. Pink also did the theme song for Another Pussycat Haircut. And you know what? As much as people clown her recent music, her first four album run is to be studied. Wait, who? You talking about Kelly Clarkson? Or Pink? I would say I love Can't Take Me Home, even though she won't acknowledge it. I love Misunderstood. Try This wasn't bad, even though it flopped. And what was the other one that came after that? I'm Not Dead? Because I know she did what the fuck did she do? She did I think a greatest hits album in between. Mhm. Right, y'all. So I guess you're gonna give us your thoughts now on this next topic because we're about to get into some heated rivalry news. Let's talk about heated rivalry. So Connor Story recently appeared on SNL over the weekend. I didn't get to see how he did because I've been so busy this weekend. I haven't had time to watch anything, but I do know a couple of the clips have popped up on YouTube. I did save it in my in the thing so I can go and watch it, and I'll get around to it eventually. But nevertheless, let's get into the story because we talked about the book, that there's another chapter in the book that's supposed to be coming out later this year, but the author of the franchise had decided to move the book release to, I think, summer of 2027 because I believe she has MS and she's been battling some illnesses, so it's going to take her a little longer to come up with finishing writing the book. But in the meantime, what I had said was, so all this time we got to sit up in here and wonder, so what's going on with the series? Because with how popular the series is and how big it just blew up and turned Connor Story and Hudson Williams into bona fide rock stars, I'm like, what the hell is taking y'all so long to get going with this show? So now we have an update on when they're going to start shooting and the possibility of when the show is actually going to hit the airwaves. So season 2 of Heat of Rivalry is coming as soon as humanly possible, according to series creator Jacob Tierney. Tierney appeared alongside EP Brendan Brady on CBS Mornings on Thursday and gave Gail King an update on how the next installation of the hockey romance drama is progressing. Production on season 2 is slated to begin this August with an expected release date in April 2027. Saying there will be more heated rivalry on your TVs on your TVs truly as soon as humanly possible. This is what Tierney told King, leaning into the show's secret romance and saying fans should enjoy the yearn until they can watch new episodes. Peter Rivalry, as you know, is based on Game Changers by Rachel Reed, the series produced by the Crave in Canada and streaming on HBO Max in the US, follows star hockey players Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov, two of the biggest stars in Major League Hockey, bound by ambition, rivalry, and the fuckery of it up. No, I just made that part up. But a magnetic pole, neither of them fully understand. So it was like this powerful sexual attraction. They have this fling that was going on. Then there's other characters that are thrown in the mix. It'll be very much interesting because I think the first season was based off the second book, which I believe was called Heated Rivalry. Um, Unrivaled is the seventh book in the Game Changer series. So yeah, I was saying before it was supposed to come out on September 29th. It's now been moved to June 1st, 2027, because she's dealing with Parkinson's. So they're saying that the symptoms have been pretty bad on her. And her schedule, because of Heated Rivalry exploding, has just been crazy. And I'm wondering if the Parkinson's and everything is like all of that is affecting the Parkinson's, like the stress and how busy you are and all that stuff, if it affects whatever's going on with her body. So yeah, so we'll be getting it soon. I guess patience, but I know like I just wanted to get to the point because you know how people are when it comes to um the industry, and when y'all find something that is hot at the moment, do y'all stick it out and commit? Or is it like, oh, that ship has sailed. It didn't have the same impact as like before. Like, for example, Wednesday, y'all were all of that the ass of that show. Then season 2 took forever to come around. It finally came on and just didn't have that same impact as the first season. Or maybe that had to do with the fact that season 2 just wasn't as strong as the first season of Wednesday was. So maybe that was that. Heated Rivalry, I feel like it's in good hands, and the second season will be worth the wait. I'm glad that these actors are having a resurgence with having this big renaissance with their careers, and they're going off doing little things in the meantime until we can get the second season. So shout out to you, fine ass kind of story, and I'm looking forward to this new season of Heated Rivalry once it comes out, and what other shenanigans not only is Ilya and Shane gonna get themselves into, but other characters who share their same sentiments. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? You said you gotta wait a little longer for a little heated rivalry. You, are you heated over the fact you gotta wait a long time for heated rivalry? So let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. Yeah, Funhouse was a good album. It used to be my fun house, and now it's full of evil clowns. I completely forgot about Pink's debut with Black Era. Ah, not well, Misunderstood is when it really kicked off. I meant albums. Hold on, where to go? Like you said, I mean albums 2 to 5. I can do without trying. Oh yeah, not a lot of people liked Try This. I did like what didn't she collaborate with Peaches on that album? I would definitely watch one episode of the TV show whenever I get around to it, which means find the ex. Not wait. Uh-uh. I do kind of wish it didn't and have so much sex. Oh Lord. So are you actually the Gen Z that everybody's been talking about? Where it's like, oh yeah, y'all have an issue with the sex stuff because there was an article that I think who did it? I think it was Variety did the article, and it was talking about like why is shows like Bridgerton and Heat of Rivalry heating up and like really breaking through at this moment in time, even though Gen Z said that they didn't want sex in their programming. I'm like, it's natural because people out here fucking. When I was growing up, we would just be so happy we could see people of the same sex having sex. It was groundbreaking back then, especially like with queer as folk and stuff. So I don't know, maybe we kind of just still want that representation and this generation to have that kind of experience. But it seems like I guess maybe because with the internet and everything, younger people like Gen Z and stuff have been so bombarded with sex, they become numb to it. Whereas we had to seek that shit out at my age. I don't mind it, but it's like, is it really every episode? Yeah. Yes, very much every episode. It's not all that's in the thing though. There's a lot of dialogue and a lot of stuff that's going on. I mean, and funny enough, even though it's about hockey, it also has some moments of hockey in there too. Not a lot, but there's some hockey moments, but yeah, there's a lot more the sex and dialogue and conversations and things. But yeah, I just think the problem with the media, they was getting so caught up in making it seem like all they're doing is having sex. There's much more in there than just that. It, I told you, I thought I told you I listened to the album. Yeah, the whole album is basically, but that's typical Peaches, where the double entendres, the sexual talk, and you know, being like that aggressive in your face. Let me talk about my vagina and make funny things. Yeah, I listened to the album literally the second it dropped on um Apple Music. The day it came out, because I had missed the bus to get home. So I was like, I'm gonna just take another bus that get me halfway. And I walked the rest of the way. And so on my way walking, which took me about 20 minutes, um, I was like, let me put the album on. It wasn't that cold out. So I put the album on. I was like, let me listen to it. It's not even a long album. You can be done with it in 30 minutes. And I liked everything. I mean, I liked it for the most part. But yeah, I definitely liked Peach's new album. But I think you meant just her being horny because you wrote honky. Like, she a white woman. We know that. I'm horny, 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 horny. So horny. Y'all know that song by Moose T? All right, y'all. So now let's get into this because we got to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, that recap of the Fannie Ballroom Rusical, which is like a combination. Well, it's basically based off of Annie and this chick named Fannie, where they said her ass is natural, which it wasn't. That was the whole joke. And how her and Sandy were off to try to become part of a ball. I mean, a part of a house, actually. She thought the musical was pretty good. Although, and I was like, I was happy, number one, that they brought in someone that actually knows how to do the proper, movements of Vogue, all the elements of Vogue, and taught it to them. Because I was like, I do not want to hear the Vogue purists come on social media and come at the show. Oh, y'all, here y'all go again, no again, no. All the stuff like we've been hearing over the years. Aja, Leone, couple of ballroom friends that I know, and one of them did say, and I'm gonna tell you what he said in a second. One of my friends who's from the House of Infinity basically was like, "Oh yeah, if it came to certain girls, they would definitely get chopped." But I was like, it was a musical. I didn't take it seriously. I was just glad they got some of the movements and stuff down during the rehearsal. But I wasn't expecting like just perfection and precision, actual interpretations. I was like, as long as they give me good performance, I'm okay with it. But yeah, if you're gonna take from ballroom, at least be right by it. And I think they did that to cover their ass. That's why they brought in that other choreographer alongside Jamal Sims during that sequence. So let's get into the episode. So apparently, the girls are reeling because the house of Dion, that whole family, they lost one of their members, which I was like, wait, so it was Mia Star, which I was kind of upset about that we lost Mia. But when we saw this episode, I was like, you know what? I definitely see why they kept Kenya Pleaser around. Because Kenya, I liked her as the MC, even though a friend of mine said he didn't particularly like Kenya as the MC. But Kenya was giving me like, um, I think they were, what I think they was inspired by? The announcer from like the Beyonce Renaissance tour. I think they were kind of inspired by that. But we've always heard announcers who kind of do that whole gravitas with the way they talk over a bitch track. grew up listening to all of that when I was in my 20s growing up. And I think they took an inspiration from that in regards to this whole situation. So yeah, everybody was upset that Mia left, but I was mad too. But I was like, you know what? I guess they did all they could with her. There was nothing else to give regarding Mia and the personality and all the other stuff. And for this challenge, I don't know if she would have excelled at any of the characters. So based off of the characters that was there, I don't think she would have excelled. I mean, she would have excelled in the dancing department and all the other stuff. But as far as like invoking and embodying certain characters, I don't know if she would be able to pull that off. It would have been nice, but yeah, she squabbled the snatch game as Bloody Mary, and she got chopped. Nene Coco won the challenge and joined Juicy as the only two queens with two maxi wins. Jane Don't, is mad that she's falling behind despite 8 straight placements within the top. So she's been in the top, but she hasn't really gotten like up there to be as a force to be reckoned with. And here's the thing. I like Jane Don't. I think she's good on the show. She's been pretty solid with a lot of the challenges. The problem is, I think the production is fucking with her. The producers is messing with her because they looking to create a narrative because they want to get her mad and they want to create discourse. Speaking of discourse, let's talk about Discord because I think y'all trying to do that with her too, and Discord is not taking the bait. So y'all trying to create drama where there isn't, and I think that's why a lot of people are looking at this season as a little crunchy. And you hear comments from, I even think Candy Muse was kind of saying it too when she did a stream with Mistress Isabel Brooks and Vanjie. I'm kind of agreeing with her, and I'm kind of agreeing with Plain Jane. There aren't any real standout queens on this season. Like I'm looking at the girls that I could definitely see in the top, like my top three would literally be okay, Jane Don't, I see Nene Coco, and I see Mikey Meeks. Those are who I feel like is gonna make it all the way to the end. But looking at it, I'm just like whoever wins, okay, whatever. Not that enthused or excited. So I think that's kind of like where everybody's feeling. Like it's a good. I mean, it's good to watch, but it's nothing as like it's not. This season is just not memorable. I guess is what it is, and I don't think you have the forced drama to make it memorable. I just feel like this is no standout moments. Although I do say it was a solid Rusical. I did think this was one of the stronger Rusicals we've had in a minute. So yeah, so this week the final 8 basically did they bridged the gap between Broadway musical and ballroom voguing, where they came out with Fannie, the Hard Knock Ball Rusical, which of course is based on Annie and Paris is Burning. And then we had Benny Blanco, who is Selena Gomez's husband, who was also a producer, a record producer. He was a guest judge alongside Rue, Michelle, and Jamal Sims, who got to sit on the panel as well. So that was good to have him there. And then you know, so we basically had all of that where they did the mini challenge where they had the grinder. I hardly even know her. I hate when they say that thing. I hardly ever know her. Like that is such a time. Like I just think that the whole line that they always say on that show is stupid. It's not funny. Come up with something else. So basically, they did that thing. I already saw that in the previews on YouTube. So I pretty much fast forwarded through that. I didn't care. And shout out to where you see Mikey here and Darlene Mitchell as what did you say? Her name was Brandy, the dog. I thought Darlene did a good job with the dog. It was pretty funny. And Mikey, who knew that bitch had pipes on her? I never laughed so hard than I did in this episode. I was laughing a lot watching some of the stuff. And I thought Mikey did a phenomenal job with the vocals. So um now after that, so they did the mini challenge. I didn't particularly care for the mini challenge, so we could move on from that. Then because they basically said that during the challenge, Athena was most believed to lie and that she's versed, most likely to hook up while in drag, and most likely to lie about her age and her profile. Then they said something about Nene, most likely to put mass for mass on her profile. That's what I said. It was so stupid. I didn't care. So then they did the musical. They had to divvy up the performances on who's gonna play what, and you always know there's gotta be a clash. So, the girls got their first choice. Kenya got to play Grace Gaultier. Discord played Lil Salty. Juicy was Cecile Cartier, which, sidebar, was Juicy giving us Ice Spice? Because she was looking a little Ice Spice-ish in that whole ensemble that she was wearing. I'm like, is Ice Spice up there? Because she was getting, that's what they kind of look like. But anyway, so there was that. Then I said Darlene was, hey, excuse me, Brandy. Athena was Mama Big Bucks, who was like the mother of the house. And then Jane was Miss Shenanigans. I'm like, that's funny, but y'all named her that. The only contention, was now the drama started between Mikey and Nene, where Mikey wanted to basically play the central role of Fannie. Then Nene wanted to step up because she's like, I want to play it because I don't want to play Big Pepper. Which, to be honest, when we watched it, you did good as Big Pepper. I guess because she didn't want to have to play a role similar and match with Discord. So that's probably like what, because they were playing like the girls that lived under Miss Shenanigans with their the outfits they mopped, because mop is an old term in case of those you didn't notice, and back in the day mop means stealing. So that's basically, I think, what they were trying to play off of. And I guess she probably thought it was just some basic role. But girl, just be safe this week. Like, you don't need to, if you're not somebody who can sing the house down, if you're not somebody that can carry that much in the whole thing, if that's not you, don't try to take on more than you can do. And I felt like she was overthinking it. And then everybody cover their face and like all that. I'm like, okay, y'all all need to calm the fuck down because y'all was getting on my nerves with all of that. So but then again, so then they're going back and forth. Nene is being indecisive, like she was previous. And then all of a sudden she decides, I'll play the part. Because then she tried to go after Athena's role, which Athena, you probably should have switched because you was not good in that role that you played. You thought being the mother of a house, you thought it was going to be similar to you actually being a mother of the house in real life. It's like, no, you got to be able to, it's a character. So you got to be able to bring a little extra. Like, did you not see, like, you don't think about old ballroom girls and how they do, and also on top of that think Annie and that whole, like, you have to use reference points when you're acting. And I did notice during certain parts during her performance that she wasn't fully in the role. Like, there would be like, even when you have even in the subtle moments you have to be performing, where it's just like, yeah, I'm in this character, I'm in the pocket and I'm out of it. So at the end of the day, Mikey and then we're going back, and Mikey and Nene were going back and forth. Mikey ended up being Fannie. Nene took the role of Big Pepper, and then Nene got flustered and made the final decision to give Fannie back to Mikey and took Big Pepper for herself. So they were going back and forth on that, and it was getting frustrated. Then she tried to go after Athena's role, like I said before, and Athena was trying to fight her, and I was like, maybe you should have switched. So then Jane don't, then they came up and then they recorded their vocals, had me cackling. Then they had to get to the choreography, which we saw, of course, they do what they usually do. Some of the girls excel, some of the girls struggle. And then they had to, yeah, so they laid down their vocals with Leland and Gabe Lopez. When I watched, speaking of Gabe, I had no idea he passed away because they dedicated something to him at the end. And I was like, wait, wasn't it just the guy we just saw at the beginning of the thing where they was recording the music? But they said this episode was dedicated to him. So shout out to him. I don't know what had happened, but they paid trip, they dedicated the episode to him. So they laid down their vocals, it was cute or whatever. um of course Mikey gagged everybody with her vocals. I definitely laughed when Jane was doing Miss Shenanigans and recording the vocals. I thought that was pretty funny. Kenya definitely ate. I don't care what nobody say, she definitely was going to be the perfect, and that's why I said they knew based off of the next challenge Kenya definitely was going to give personality, and they needed that for the thing. They probably felt they can get more of that from Kenya Pleaser than Mia. So unfortunately, you got to realize it's a reality show and it's the way the cookie crumbles. So, and then Discord, I thought was relatively funny because she was like, she was nervous about the choreography, and then we seen her do the performance. I'm like, she get rhythm. So yeah, she may not have been perfect, but she was on it when it came to, and she and Nene were in sync with the choreography and stuff. So I was definitely shocked that Discord was the one that really pulled through in regards of the dancing. Because we see how she walk, and she always says she got two left feet, but bitch, that day you didn't have it. So, um, but then they said that Discord, but maybe it's not much to go on because Discord and Nene aren't the best dancers. So I mean, Nene ain't the best dancer either. So now we get to the Rusical, and Kenya and Jane, as I said before, they did relatively well. They overshadowed their scene partners, which I was saying because I felt that Juicy got overshadowed, definitely. And Athena during her performance or whatever, it was like even some of her dancing was a little stiff, but then it was like like I said, in certain little moments, she didn't really have the strongest situation. So I already predicted at that point. I said, I totally see what y'all about to do. What y'all about to do is y'all gonna have, and it was so obvious, y'all were literally gonna have mother and daughter lip sync towards each other. It was clearly so obvious the way they did that. It was like even Helen Keller could have seen that shit coming. So, but like I said, Darlene was in a tough spot. I thought sharing scenes with Mikey, but I will say Darlene held her own, and she brought her own essence to that part. So she was good in that. So shout out to Darlene because she definitely, did her thing. And so top performances for me, Mikey, of course. Um, Discord I thought was good enough, but she was safe. And Jane Don't, I thought did a great job. I also thought Kenya Pleaser did a good job. So those are like my top faves during the performance. And even Darlene, but Darlene's definitely gave me save. So which she was, so she got to go to the back. Then they came out with the beige against the machine category, and I actually liked some of the looks. Particularly, I love Jane Done's look. It was very drag. I didn't particularly like Athena's. Athena definitely was giving me like she was gonna go pluck wheat. I like Discord's look, but and funny enough, I thought Mikey was gonna win, but I think they probably felt like, you know what, at this point, we've been pulling this girl's chain enough. Let's give it to Miss Shenanigans. So um Jane Don't ended up winning the challenge. So good on her because I was like, y'all not gonna keep playing in her face. So then it came down to the bottom, which of course was Juicy because I felt like, yeah, Juicy was she's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna excel this challenge because I could dance. I'm like, girl, you gotta come with more than just being a technical dancer, and you gotta have personality and you gotta have that whole vibe that goes with that. And I don't think you brought it, and neither did Athena. I already said like I do not see the House of Dion making it all the way to the end. And so, yeah, now let's get down to the lip sync. I was disappointed in the lip sync. I really feel like this season, there's been some of the choppiest, messiest, crunchiest lip syncs in the history of this show. This would be a short ass season with the amount of double sachets they would possibly give to a lot of these queens. Because I don't understand. Drag 101, aren't you supposed to know the lyrics to the songs? Which Kenya never seems to know when she gets up to the lip sync. I'm just throwing it out there in general. And then on top of that, it's like none of it is memorable. Just because y'all doing dips and flipping around and doing all kinds of crazy choreography, that's not enough to keep me interested. Y'all reheating the same damn nachos that we've been seeing for previous seasons. So I'm not really impressed over these lip syncs anymore like I used to when from all the years of watching the show. But I guess when it's 18 seasons, what are you gonna do, right? So it came down to mother and daughter, and I wasn't even that excited over the song choice. Call Me When You Break Up, which is a song Benny Blanco, Selena Gomez, and Gracie Abrams. The song is even meh. So I wasn't really feeling it. But at the end of the day, the Greek goddess had to sashay away and Juicy got to stay. So what will be, I guess, presented with next week on the next episode is they're walking in the break room. Juicy's breaking down and crying and probably feeling alone. Oh my God, I sent my mother home. All that shit that they got to play up. And we'll see if she survives next week's episode. I don't even remember what next week's episode is. But I think it's another acting challenge or something or another. But yeah. So um and I said this and I'm gonna say it on the camera. I said on social media. Because Rue tried to say, oh, yeah, that line alone should give me an Emmy. I'm like, sis, you're not getting the Emmy this year. No shade. Even though I was disappointed with the Traitors this season too, because it just ended. Um, I think the Traitors gonna walk away again with the Emmy. So shout out to Juicy and Athena. I know they're going to be on. Well, they already filmed it, but for the general public, will be able to see it tomorrow. They're going to be on Roscoe's Tavern in Chicago, so they'll be on that episode, and y'all can sit and see them. You know, everybody gag over the fact that in real time, when you have them there, that one of them got eliminated. So yeah, whatever. I just say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Did you watch the episode? What were your overall thoughts? I will say this is like I said before, this is the strongest Rusical we've had in quite a while. Because I've been kind of disappointed with the Rusicals, but this one was actually pretty entertaining. I was thoroughly entertained by what I was seeing. The songs was good, the performances was good for the most part, and it was a pretty funny episode leading up to the performance. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you think of this episode? And do you agree that there are no real star with or there's no real queens with star quality that are standing out that makes you excited? Like this season doesn't have a Bob the Drag Queen or Bianca Del Rio or who else or any of the big previous winners that we've had, a Sasha Colby or any of those girls, or I was gonna say, or even a Ginger Minj, but she won All Stars. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. I wasn't crazy over last season's Rusical. I was so bored watching the sound of. Oh yeah, I liked the Sound of Music as a kid, but I outgrew that shit. I was so bored watching the Sound of Music and cannot remember anything. Me either. Same goes for whatever season 15 had Moulin Rouge season 3 Rusical. With all that being said, this is my favorite Rusical since Danta, the unauthorized Rusical in season 12, season 11, and season 10 were forgettable too. I would say it's been a minute. Did you watch Mistress' new video where she revealed that Mia Star told her Jennifer ordered a food truck outside of rehearsals and said enough fatty? Also started reading J Ho because she's a oh yeah, I did. That was the one I watched. The one I was talking about that they were going in with on who was it? That when she was there with Vanjie and Candy Muse, where they was talking about the show, where they said that there's no real standouts, no real queens with star quality. I was like, I kind of agree with them on that. Jane and Mikey are my top two, but it's a bummer that neither of them are lip sync. Yeah, there's no lip sync assassins on the show, and just because you sent people home a couple of times does not. I mean, a couple of people home and you're still there does not mean you're a lip sync assassin. People need to really understand what a lip sync assassin is, and whatever it is y'all doing, that ain't it. He said, I let out a very loud, oh girl, when I heard Gracie Abrams utter out of RuPaul's mouth the lip sync songs are quietly becoming payola. Yeah, it's very much like corporate leaning, like, okay, these are shits that's being sent to y'all so that way they can go big on iTunes or iTunes, Apple Music or whatever the case is. So it's like you're almost in um a deal with like a record label or whatever the case, like just to get certain songs. Because I'm like, some of these song choices, I'm like, who's lip singing it is in a club? Nobody's picking a song from Selena Gomez and Gracie Abrams unless you're in the freaking Midwest in a dive bar. They say, ain't no way Jisoo is going to win with 3 bottom placements. Nope. And I don't even see her making it to like the top 5 or top. I can see her going to the next episode or two. All the eliminated queens are coming back for makeover challenge. I think I know all of the eliminated girls are coming back. Though. Oh yeah, that's why I think when they was going to open the door and we're going to see like what happens. I wonder if that's a way for one of the girls to come back, like how they used to do on the show. It's like you're going to make over previous eliminated queens. Let's see how that works out. All right, y'all. So now let's get into our final topic. And let's talk about Colton Underwood. So the Traitors is over. I guess congratulations to Rob, who was the very first ever traitor to win the show. which I know people was tight, especially dumbass Mora. I was so disappointed in that episode. I literally fast forwarded majority of the final episode because I'm like, y'all just gonna sit up in here and drag out a bunch of bullshit. I always find like finale shows are never so exciting or captivating. So I basically just fast forward through it until I get to the end. So it was like she literally got rid of course, and I felt like this was Rob's plan. Rob was going to have Eric up in there to get rid of him and make it look like he was the last traitor when he picked a new person to replace the other two traitors he pretty much got rid of, and Mora because I think she want to fuck Rob. If rumors is they was actually out here kind of sort of on the low with being an item. And she's like, you pinky swore. I'm like, girl, you're on a show called The Traitors. You actually believe somebody telling you that they're not a traitor, that it's possible? Like, are you that dense? Or was it that you were just smitten by his southern country corn fed good looks? And the whole kind of like the whole, oh, he's a nice guy and he plays dumb or whatever. It's like Rob is cunning, Rob is smart, and Rob walked away with all that prize pot money, and you walked away empty handed. So it's just like, y'all gotta be smart with y'all shit because Tara Lipinski came to her and told her that he was a traitor, was on him about the whole situation. And she votes off the faithfuls like a dumb bitch. And look at you. You went home broke. Well, you probably did get paid because the longer you're on these shows, they probably make money and stuff that way. But that's neither here nor there. I just want to give you a little update on the whole traitor situation. So he's finally opening about that terrible Colton Underwood, who was kind of annoying me on this season, by the way, with the way he was playing in certain situations, trying to play the damn victim in certain situations as well. So yeah, so he told them not to bring up the whole Cassie situation on the show because I do remember Lisa Renner bringing up something about stalking or whatever the case is. So the former football player who added reality TV villain to his repertoire due to his spiky presence on the fourth season of The Traitors, became embroiled in controversy shortly after he left The Bachelor in a relationship with contestant Cassie Randolph. A year after the finale, Underwood and Randolph split up. Months later, Randolph was granted a temporary restraining order against Underwood, which she eventually withdrew after they reached a private agreement. Then in 2021, he came out as a homosexual, saying, quote, since 2020, I put a lot of work into myself. I work with almost every network. I've shown up as a professional. I've shown up as a human being. I've taken accountability, Underwood told Vanity Fair on Thursday in a lengthy new interview. This perception of who I was at my lowest point in my life is not who I am when I work with these companies, when I work with these people, when I show up on television. Still, when Underwood spoke with Entertainment Weekly after his elimination from the Traitors in January, a condition of the interview was to avoid any and all questions about Randolph, saying, I didn't want to add fuel to the fire. I don't feel like it's appropriate that every time I work or I do something that she's mentioned and tagged in hundreds of thousands of articles. It's important now to be honest and sit here for those of you who have been asking for accountability from me. I have done that in the past. There was no strategy in the Entertainment Weekly article other than not wanting to add fuel to a fire. He also made a similar request to NBC streamer Peacock when in negotiations to join the cast of The Traitors, saying, I met with production, I met with Peacock. I was like, I'm down to do this because this show is about strategy. It's about the game. It's about traders. It's not personal. My only ask is like, if I do this, I don't want people to bring up anything outside of the game. I have a family now, Underwood told the outlet. Looking back at his time on the and immediately following The Bachelor, Underwood cited that impact of COVID, saying struggling with Xanax and prescription medication and a blackmail attempt targeting his then undisclosed sexual identity as pressures that led to some really, really poor decisions. Well, I want to know what that is. Did somebody, when you said a blackmail attempt, somebody must have caught you out there sucking dick on the low and was going to expose you. He said it was somewhat of the perfect storm of me hitting rock bottom, of me trying to navigate. Am I going to kill myself or am I going to come out? Now, despite it all, Underwood claimed that he will always take accountability, saying, I will always own mistakes that I made. But when it comes to Randolph, he says, I have no contract. I have no contact. If she ever did reach out or want to reach out, I would be open to answering any questions that her or her family would have for me. That is something I've always offered. It's all on her terms. Well, we want to know what happened. I mean, was this all a game back in the day? Like you knew because I'm trying to wonder, like, did you know that you had feelings for men, but you went on The Bachelor knowing full on well that you were in the closet and you were trying to, I guess, prove something, or you were just using that show as a way to get famous? Because I never buy into the shenanigans and the foolishness on shows like um The Bachelor. I think it's all a ruse. But you get in where you fit in, I guess. But yeah, they also said that his time on the Traitors proved divisive, with some viewers praising the drama he added to the explosive season and others labeling him as the cast villain. Regarding the history he took with him to the Traitors Castle, Underwood told EW he did not view himself as a villain, saying, I have enough self awareness and I'm in a place in my career where I understand reality personalities are polarizing. While he certainly made some fans, saying, I also understand there's people who aren't rooting for me, who aren't fans of me. And when they see me back on their TV, they definitely have something to say. Because I do find it's awfully shady that it's like, why are you tagging this girl and everything? Because it's like you trying to get her to, it's almost like you're trying to get her to take the bait and you want Cassie to respond. But it's like at the end of the day, people going to be out here still doing shit. And you don't have to tag some girl that I was in a relationship with 10 years ago consistently in stuff that I'm doing because you trying to prove some type of point or you just being messy. So I guess in a way, I don't know. I mean, Colton kind of did rub me the wrong way on this season of The Traitors. I'm glad you're out here living your best life. You got a husband, you got a kid, and you living happily ever after and all this other stuff. But you did kind of annoy me on this season, especially when you was going after Lisa Rinna. But I get it. It's a reality show. It's a competition. The whole goal is to get out all the traitors. And unfortunately, y'all did not because one of them walked away with the prize pot. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Regarding Colton Underwood, do you think that he has taken? I mean, I haven't been paying attention up to his career to know if he has or not. He seems genuine in what he's saying. I mean, maybe I'm just being fooled because I've done like 12 topics and I'm tired. And I don't even care enough to even dissect the story no more. But do you feel like he has finally atoned for his sins and we should just move on with our lives, whatever the case is? Something I said about Jonathan Majors. I feel like if you've atoned for your sins and you put in the work, let's move on. And let bygones be bygones and let that man just live his life. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. But waiting, I've been wanting to ask you this since you're a New Yorker. Are you familiar with the New York band Geese? Yes, I worked their show last season. And also they're coming back to the is it Geese? No, I think it's Goose. They're kind of like a band similar to Fish. So I worked their show. You said a bunch of 23-year-olds making post-punk music. The bassist is a trans woman, and the lead singer may or may not be part of the Lebeouf community. They just won Best International Band at the Brits. Yeah, I've heard of Geese. Um, Hold on, let me see. I wonder if I can get more familiar with them. Oh, they came out with an album in 2025 called Getting Killed. And they're a band from Brooklyn. They're supposed to be performing in June at Flushing Meadow Corona Park. And so yeah, they do like alternative indie music. So yeah, I've heard of them. But you know what? We need more. And look, child. First of all, if they from Brooklyn, you already know that there's a queer tilt to them. And it's funny because I'm looking at one of their pictures that they're taking, where it's like one got blood on a tank top, and I'm looking at the type of window with the curtain. I'm like, that is such a Brooklyn apartment or a New York apartment, I'll say. Yeah, I like their music. He said that restraining order was probably born from Colton going overboard and his covering up his homosexualness to himself and the public. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but that makes sense. It's sort of like, yeah, you were going overboard and going after this girl and the stalking and all other mess because it's like you ain't come to terms with the fact that you like dick. And that happens in a lot of relationships, whether it's straight or gay, where you got some issues. Hopefully, he ain't gonna bring that into the gay relationship that he's in, the stalking, and should that break up. So hopefully, you got all that under control. Like many abusive males in straight relationships. He said they also performed the SNL recently, and older director. Oh, please. I don't understand why people got to be so quick out here trashing stuff. I'm a fan of music, so anything and that's what I think one of the perks I love about working at the garden. It's just that bit of that vibe of discovering new music that I'm not familiar with or I've never heard of those artists. I'm like, sound interesting. I wonder what they're about. So I always like try to check that out. And then I'm relatively surprised by a lot of the music that they do. Especially, oh, excuse me, especially with some of the bands and stuff that come through there. I'm like, oh, I never heard of that band, and I listen to them. Well, okay, like there was a band. Damn, I can't remember the name of the band, and that I worked. And it's a guy that they're kind of like they're very much theatrical, but they're a rock band, and he wears a mask on his face. Can't remember the name of the damn band for the life of me right now. But I was like, I never heard of them, and I heard their music. And I'm like, oh, their music's actually pretty good. Oh my god. So looks like we're at the end of today's show. I want to thank you all for tuning in to the latest episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. Before we get up out of here, one more time, if you could please do me a solid and hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and also be sure to smash the notification bell so that way you know when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. I will not be on tomorrow because I have to work, but I will be back on Tuesday with a brand new episode. So definitely look out for that. In the meantime, I guess y'all just have to fester in this episode in case you're missing things, or just wait until I edit a couple of clips and put them up on the channel, and then you can check those out in the meantime. So yes, love you all for watching. Thank you for your continued support of this messy little show that could. And until next time, ciao, darlings.